fucking podcast.
I'm the podcast you married. The only time you liked yourself was when you were trying to be someone this podcast might like. I'm not a quitter. I'm that podcast. I killed for you. Who else can say that? You think you'd be happy with a nice Midwestern podcast? No way, baby. I'm it.
That's what I thought you were going to do.
Thank you.
Man,
I couldn't do all of Cool Girl, despite the fact that it will disappoint some people.
You doing Cool Girl I would have actually quit the podcast.
You would have quit.
Yep, would have been not because it's too long.
Hey,
because the idea of you saying some of that would be a little tough.
You married this podcast. You can't quit.
I quit. I would quit.
You can't quit.
In that moment, I know I'm like, no, I quit. I'll go to jail. It's fine. Jail for me.
You're not in Missouri.
This is the podcast you fell in love with, David. You can't get out of it now.
No, Missouri does have the death penalty.
No, I said you're not in Missouri.
Oh, yeah. But New York also has the death penalty, FYI.
This is Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
It's a podcast about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their careers and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce. Baby.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mini-series on the films of David Fincher. It is called The Curious Pod of Benjamin Buttcast.
Well, we're only going to get to say that one more time.
Oh, that's so sad.
Second to last one we're recording.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Listeners will hear it multiple more times. But we've only got the killer left to do after this.
Yeah, but also, by the way, there's only one film chronologically for listeners in between this and the killer.
All right.
It's just, it remains wild that he goes cold for so long after this movie.
He made a TV show.
We've talked about it so many times, but it's just very indicative of what changed in the industry over the last 9 years.
He had to make.
He had to make it up, but it took 6 years to get to make after this.
It did. Yeah, took him 6 years.
Yeah, it's wild to me. I don't know. We're talking about Gone Girl today.
Mm-hmm.
A movie that fucking slaps and rocks and rules and fucks.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
A wonderful film. I introduced our guests.
But also a movie that was, can I say it?
You're going to say big titty hit?
It was a big titty hit.
It was a big dick hit. It was a floppy dick hit.
It was a floppy dick hit.
Right?
It was a big,
here we go,
flaccid, shower salamied hit.
I know. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves,
Please.
but I did.
Gotta talk about the dick.
Inevitable.
Well, that we were going to talk about the dick first. Well, I just I messaged David. Okay.
Let's set it up now. And we can bring it back later.
I feel like
you said you'd never.
I never really clocked the enormity of it.
Yeah.
Before. When I was watching it this time, I was really like, I've seen this movie countless times, especially the back half because it's like on TV a lot. Sure. And I'll put it on and just be like, I'm going to watch the end of this movie.
You still have TV?
Oh, yeah. I love having TV. It's the best.
I've been thinking about getting back into TV.
No, you gotta have cable. I mean, like, we have all of like basic cable, all the sports channels, and HBO and Showtime.
Yeah. Not Stars?
Not Stars.
Rude.
Cinemax?
No.
Wow.
The movie channels I miss having.
The movie channels are kind of fun to have, but
that's how I've watched the end of Gone Girl so many times.
It locks you into watching movies that you've seen, and
but I like that.
Yeah, well,
I like
cable.
It.
Yeah.
But I guess I was just saying that, like, this time I just really honed in on the dick because I knew we were going to talk about it. So it was just like,
Look,
that's a chunky boy.
I gasped at the world premiere of this film when I saw the dick. I've been with it since day one. I was among the first people to see it, and I was like, oh shit. Like, I was right there with it. And as I was walking out, I was like, a little glimpse of, and the people were like, really? Like, immediately I had the experience of some people not really clocking.
Yeah, people didn't clock it.
No, and I saw this film at least twice in theaters, and I feel like my opinion on the dick changed depending on where I was sitting in the theater too. It is kind of like, and some people were like, I didn't see it at all, and it's like, it might have been a Matt problem, with the projection at your theater. Like, it is the kind of thing you can kind of miss, like. The for a man who is so compositionally specific, he does not construct that frame to draw your attention to the dick. You almost need to know.
Just like a fun little surprise.
I'm looking for the dick, and it's only at the one
getting
angle.
Embarrassing.
Okay.
No, carry on.
Let's move off the subject. A thing that's under discussed is that you also see Neil Patrick Harris's dick.
No, I was like,
the reason that's under discussed is you see it immediately and it's covered in blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I missed it.
Yeah, it's brief.
Yeah.
It's got a bloody dick.
But I mean, again, it's not. Both of these are incidental viewings of nudity. It's not like the movie's like zoom in, and playing like a guitar, which maybe it should.
I mean, that kind of sounds fun.
Well, when you see Neil Patrick Harris's dick, you are in the middle of going like Jesus Christ, and the music is going like, and you're like, oh my God, like you're not really like. Ooh.
The reason why it always jumps out to me when I watch it is it's the kind of thing.
Dick?
Yes.
Okay.
This is what our podcast is. This is the podcast you marry.
It's just right at the start. And Marie just texted us about the Button episode having a lot of dick talk, which I didn't even remember. And I'm like, what are we doing? Go on. Sorry, go on.
Dicks in the Button episode?
Apparently, you're not checking your texts.
Yeah, I was. Look, the thing about the Neil Patrick Harris dick, and this is the point. This is to your point of it being kind of incidental nudity. Every time I watch the movie and she's about to dismount him, I'm like conditioned by watching so many other movies that don't do this, where I'm like, how are they going to frame this so you don't see his dick?
They'll sneak it. Yeah,
right?
It's just like there.
Right. There's somehow suddenly his underwear is back up or whatever it is.
Right. Well, but he couldn't have done that.
Of course, but I see those moments in other movies where I'm like, you're cheating. Right. And it took me out of it for a second. And in fact, it jumps out to you less watching this because you're just like, oh, they're not cheating. They're doing the thing you actually see in this moment. This is an episode on Gone Girl. Our guest is Esther Zuckerman.
Hey, what's up?
We're going straight into the deep end.
Yes. Welcome, Esther, to Blank Check for basically, so we're saying it's your 6th time?
Last time we said it was my 5th time, but we can just say it was my 5th time this time.
The asterisk is...
It's your 5th film discussed on Blank Check, not including... special features.
Right,
I think you did one of those.
We just did an episode with Katie Rich recently that will come out 15 years from now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And that she similarly has an asterisk on her record because of the Titanic episode being split in 2. But I've always argued because Kill Bill style, that was it shot as one episode. It should count as one, whether I'll Do Anything with you coming back weeks later.
I did come back to the studio.
You did, which is true. But still, this is your 5th film discussed on this show.
I think
apart
it's
from
like,
of course, you get 2 5th episode
Captain
celebrations.
Marvel, which apparently did the commentary for. I can't remember that.
I did.
The Marvels in cinemas soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
America can't wait. Beating down the doors.
Esther, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here for this episode.
I know you are.
I'm so excited I didn't get bumped for the more famous person.
Let's just talk about it. Let's just say, let's do dicks, booking issues. Does everyone want to know who couldn't make it for Zodiac? Should we talk about that?
We could talk about that.
No, we don't.
Sorry, I was being rude.
No. I think we had... There was
No, we shouldn't. All right, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say this. There was another episode we offered that I think would have been good.
Yes, yeah. I had 2 options.
Yeah, you had a good backup.
I had a good back.
Yes,
and in fact, we need to book that backup episode now.
We do need to book that now. And there was I think there was a channel of transparency. On all sides.
I would have bowed down and sort of exited gracefully.
There was a famous person where it was like specifically might be a very good fit for this episode.
Of course.
And there was a pathway to that person, and it like took a while to pin down whether or not it was going to happen.
Yes.
But you had pinned this very early on for a very specific reason that I think we should just get out of the way.
Oh, really? Oh, is there a reason I'm unaware of?
No, I mean, it was.
You said you wanted to share this anecdote.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It was funny because...
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
So Bob, my boyfriend, had told me, like, when we watched this movie, we were not together when this movie came out in 2014. No. We got together the following year.
He was dating someone else when this movie came out.
He was dating someone else when this movie came out, and they saw it together.
So this is BES.
BES. And afterwards...
BZ, sorry.
Bez.
Afterwards, apparently she told him that she would like to do this to him.
She was like, wait. That's what it was. She was like, I'm going to Gone Girl you.
She was like, I would like to Gone Girl you, basically.
But like she said this as a sort of like, I'm so mad at you, so I now will want to Gone Girl you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it said in like...
Because it'd be weird if it was like, we're doing great. It'd be so fun to Gone Girl you.
No.
Was it said in the heat of an argument, or was it
No, I think it was more just like casually after they saw the movie.
Maybe I'll Gone Girl you.
Yeah.
So it was just like walking out of the theater of like, that might be the solution.
Here's my take.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so the world of this movie, where Jesus, what's her name? Amazing Amy herself.
Amy Dunn?
Doesn't get mugged by friend of the show, Lola Kirk. And acquaintance of the show, Boyd Holbrook. Just kidding. We don't know him.
He was supposed to do the Gone Girl.
That would be funny.
He's a fan of this movie.
I guess we could have asked Lola. I didn't even think of that. I don't know where Lola is these
I feel
days.
like that happens sometimes when we're covering a movie.
People who've done the movie never really want to do that.
No, and I don't think we want them to do it. We mentioned it to Max
about Social Network, and he was like, "Oh no, I wouldn't want to do that."
No, I even felt like we framed it to Max as like, if you want
another Fincher,
because you've worked with Fincher, would you want to do anything other than Social Network?
Right.
But it always just feels like, even SAG strike issues aside, which makes it like this is the one time we couldn't do this.
Right, because they wouldn't be able to talk about
that's also not what the format of our show is. If people have insight with the
it isn't person,
but not this specific
film.
film.
Like 10 minutes of people talking about the dick.
Sure, but
I mean, I'm sure Lola would have thoughts on that.
Lola would have thoughts on that.
But
if she hadn't been mugged by Lola,
if she if her plan succeeds and she gets away to wherever, I don't know what her next
she's
step
supposed
is.
to. I mean, she's gonna kill that's part of it.
That's what she has on the post-it note. Kill myself ?
But she's not going to do that.
Well, I think part of it is that she's just like, I don't know how this ends. I guess that's what I have to do.
Yeah, but she wants him to have get the death penalty.
And to a certain degree, she's like stalling
she kind
for
of
time.
needs to be dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, because I was wondering, like, I guess if she shows up dead, but like, could she actually? My point is, I think she's actually worse at this than she thinks she is, which the movie is sort of on
I think the movie, I mean, the movie is very
She does a
aware
really
of that.
bad job.
Yes.
I mean, Lola Kirk literally says, Lola Kirk doesn't pin that she's Amy, which is
which is a clever idea. She's like, I don't actually care. You just have money and
but she's
stupid.
But Lola Kirk pegs that she is really bad at hiding that she's hiding something.
Right.
And they are instantly be like, you're a rich person,
right.
You know, she lets the money bag fall. She doesn't respond to the names she gives herself. She doesn't she thinks things through up to the point where she leaves. And then once she leaves,
you guys are right. Her focus is all on him. On what do I do to make him look bad? Because that's why I'm doing this. But could he have gotten away with it? Is my question.
Could he have gotten away with it?
Correct. Now, if she kills herself, you know what? Even if she does try to stage her own death in a way that looks like he did it.
Yeah.
Would he get away with it? He hires Tanner Balt, and Tanner Balt's like, what kind of moron would kill a woman in his house and then invite the cops over and have this orgy of evidence? You know, what kind of you know what I mean? Can he get away with it?
I think if the body shows up, he's fucked.
Yeah, I think if the body
But what if the body shows up and it's not consistent with what happened? Because it wouldn't be. And Tanner Balt, he's the best damn lawyer in the biz.
I mean, Tanner Balt is I don't know. I don't think he gets away with it.
I think
he might get away with it.
I think if she doesn't, I
mean, to be clear, getting away with it in that he did not commit the crime. So
right,
he is innocent,
but
as we know.
Do you think he walks?
Yes.
Is the question.
Yeah.
I don't think he walks.
Acquitted?
I don't think he walks.
All right.
I mean, I'm trying to compare this in my mind to other sort of media sensation cases. But I think a lot of them, the one that just
Natalie Holloway.
Yes. Where a lot of it was the lack of the body for so long.
Yeah.
When it's a disappearance, people kind of live in the ambiguity for longer. Whereas I think when a body shows up and there's this sort of visceral emotional element of we found a damaged body, there is such a bloodlust in the media that I think does translate over into the courtroom.
Yeah. I mean, obviously part of what is good about this movie as well is that he's kind of bad at being
that's what I was going to say.
Accused.
Right.
But then he kind of is starting to get good at it.
Yes.
But he also is good at it in a way where he's trying to appeal to her. He knows she's still out there, all that, you know.
Right. And the moment,
it's just fun to think about.
The moment that he gets good at it is the moment she falls back in love with him.
Yes.
And in a way falls in love with the truer version of him.
Yes. But also I'm going to say this. She's a little cuckoo.
No, she's amazing.
I don't know. She does some stuff that I think is a little rude.
I think Esther's right. I think she's a girl boss.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You agree with me.
I agree.
She's a girl boss.
I think she's a girl boss.
Is she a girl boss?
Yes. Slay queen.
Yeah, she got that bag. Right, she actually kind of lost the bag.
Yeah, she definitively loses.
She
the
hands
bag.
over the bag.
She has a bag.
She hands it over.
Taken from her.
Yeah.
Yes.
by Lola Kirk with a very visible cold story, which I have always focused on every single time I watch this movie.
Yes.
May well be makeup.
Lola's so good in this movie.
No, I mean, I assume
She's
it's
really
makeup.
good.
Yeah.
She's great in this movie.
She's better than Boyd. I actually think Boyd is kind of a non-factor, which is fine, I guess.
I
like him as an actor.
I do too.
Yeah.
He's meant to just be kind of a silly doofus. I mean, I watched this with the Fincher commentary, and he was saying, like, I like how irrelevant he is to her immediately the moment he's introduced.
Yeah.
Like, he's sort of like out of focus in the back of the shot as Lola is talking to Amy about like how much boyfriends suck.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yes. She's good.
Everyone's good in this movie.
Everyone is good.
Astounding.
But I think Amy is a bad person. I'm just saying.
I disagree.
Slay Queen.
Slay Queen.
I also just want to
literally commits murder.
She slays. She's a queen who slays.
Well,
You're not being an ally, David.
Well,
It's like
as a father of a
there's
daughter.
a lot of language being thrown at me right now. Some of
not
which I
to
agree
bring
with.
up another point of discussion that we will get to later, but a person who was going to star in this movie, Reese Witherspoon,
Yes.
had a Quibi show that I love called Fierce Queens.
And we'd like her to return to the network.
Reese had a Quibi?
Yeah.
You're inviting her back?
Called Fierce Queens, which was a nature show
Okay.
about animals that were fierce queens.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So in the
Like
same
the
way,
praying
Amy
mantis.
is a
Right.
slay queen because she
Yes.
actually slays. These are fierce queens because
Because
it's
they're
like
fierce.
Cheetah, and all the commentary that Reese did was like, you go, girl boss Cheetah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and as we all know, that got 1 bajillion Quibi hits.
Yes.
Which is a metric of my personal algorithm,
Yeah.
which I will not reveal
Right.
how it's actually.
You don't call them hits, you call them punches.
Yeah.
I also just want to put on record
1
that I
zillion views. Views count as someone even thinking about it, or you
This
know.
bite was punched.
Can I also just put on
4
record that I
F
really,
times.
really love my boyfriend Bob, and I
Yes,
do
a great
not
man.
want to Gone Girl.
No,
him.
that's
We all
why
love
you're still
Bob.
together. That's
Yes.
why you are with him.
But you at no point have ever
Yeah.
considered Gone Girling.
No.
No. And I think it's good to establish that on
Yes.
mic now.
Yeah. I just
But,
wanted to. I did want to establish
I
it.
just want to
No,
make
it's
it
smart for you
clear.
to say because that way, if you do end up gone girling him at some later point in time, you've already established that you don't want to do it. Everyone heard
yeah,
that.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
an alibi. But I recently
I don't know how
visited.
you're going to feel in a year or two.
I went to Roku City.
Oh, sure.
And I bought Quibi back.
It's lovely
from
this time
them.
of year.
So
by the way.
purple.
Yeah.
Just the sky is at its most purple there in
Yes.
October.
The trees, the leaves are turning purple.
And I went to a little purple office and I bought Quibi back for $5 Quibi bucks. And so now I do
Quibucks.
own Quibi.
Uh-huh.
So you
again.
can bring back Fierce Queens.
And so, well, we're trying to get Reese on the phone, but unfortunately, she's
No,
lost her
I've
number.
heard a rumor, and I understand it because the stock market swings on this information. So if you can't say this, if you can't confirm or
course.
deny on
I
mic,
don't
I
want
get
the
it.
FCC coming after
Right.
me.
I've heard you guys are doing R&D into the idea of doing longer bites, really long bites.
Lonby.
Yeah,
Lonby.
low buys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Lubbies?
everything's on the
Lubbies?
table.
Right,
Lubbies.
right. That Quibi's going to rebrand as the king of slow media.
Remember when it was a year of like, no, people want this. People want this. People
Yes.
want this. And then it came out and it was like one day in, it was like, Quibi has failed.
Well, it also came out.
I know.
Yes,
I know when it came out, but still.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, it
Quibi
was
will be back better than ever.
clear for a year or two leading into it that no one wanted it, and then it came out at the time under the circumstances that would accelerate its death to such an extreme degree that they had bought Super Bowl ads that are like, you know, that feeling of being stuck waiting for your table at a restaurant, and people are like, no, I don't know that. I fucking have been ordering in for 6 months.
Quibi launched on April 6th, 2020. It's like
Yes.
it's like it should just go on a tombstone.
Yeah.
Just like cause of death launched on April 6th, 2020.
They should have held.
Oh boy. Anyway, Quibi's doing better than ever,
Yeah,
just
of
to be
course.
clear. And obviously, we're really excited to work with Reese again. And every time I say that, I have to read this statement that was given to me by
sure.
our attorney. Reese Witherspoon will not be working with Quibi in any shape or form ever, in perpetuity, forever and ever. Amen. But we might be working with her.
This movie, Reese Witherspoon, who's starting to build out her sort of Southern opera dynasty, sees this book with her producing
Hello
partner.
Sunshine? Is that
Yes,
her?
correct. She buys this. rights.
I mean, hell, sure, yeah.
Right, and this is in her sort of post-Wild, like Reese is taking back the reins.
Same year.
No, it's not
that's
Wild.
what. You know what?
Yeah, no, that's
point.
okay.
Yes. But all this to say, she's clearly in this headspace of like, I kind of want to get back to doing serious work. I want to find material that I can adapt for myself. Takes this book, has the smart idea, bring Fincher on board. Fincher immediately says, by the way, you're not starring in this.
Well, okay, all right, okay. Let's talk about it. David Fincher.
Which I think is the right decision.
Well, we have to discuss that. Yeah. That is the question that must be answered.
And I think
we
while
all
coming out the same year as this, like vindicates it of like she ended up in the better thing for her.
I have a take, but we'll talk. I think the answer is yes. Or at least I like to float the idea. Would Reese have been good? But Fincher, David Fincher. So his film before Gone Girl, of course, is
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah.
You a fan?
Yes. But I haven't watched it that much.
So good.
I saw it in theaters.
He's doing well. I mean, maybe that's a slight ding. It underperformed, but it still did well.
Yes. As much as it underperformed a little bit, I also think people were like, maybe we pumped up our expectations too high for this thing.
Maybe we shouldn't.
Rather than blaming him for executing the thing incorrectly.
But obviously, there's no sequel to that happening, and instead, while he's working, I think, on this Social Network, he had signed with Disney to make 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yes.
Taking over from their first choice, McG.
Of course.
Not joking.
Yep.
And Scott Z. Burns writing the script.
Yes.
So big writer.
He wants to do it with Brad.
Daniel Craig and Channing Tatum supposedly are both considered at some
Disney,
point.
Basically, his version of the movie would cost over $200 million.
$200 million. He's going to make it in Australia.
Right. And Disney has a very short list of like, if you get one of these 5 guys, it goes.
He said it became this bizarre endeavor to find which 3 names you could rub together to make platinum. He wanted the French character out on X to be French.
Mm-hmm.
I assume Disney was not interested in that. They were like, yeah, is Benedict Cumberbatch French? Whoever it is at that era. Whoever the Benedict Cumberbatch is of 2010. Channing Tatum, I suppose. Well, put a mustache on him. Yeah. Might be funny. So it does fall apart. Mm-hmm. It's one of many Fincher swings we never get to see.
He's always, in interviews with that one, he always talks about like, I wanted to make my Empire Strikes Back. And that I have always found it astonishing how dark Empire Strikes Back is while working as a movie for children. And I thought I had it in me to maybe thread that needle once to make something on a blockbuster scale.
I mean, you read this shit where he's like, it was going to be Osama bin Nemo. Nemo was going to be a Middle Eastern prince with a wealthy family who decided white imperialism is evil and should be resisted. We were going to put kids in a place where they would agree with everything he espouses.
It sounds amazing.
But take issue with the means. Yeah, it sounds cool, but Disney is probably like, what? Yes. Osama bin Nemo?
Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
Let's also say he's like starting, that movie is being developed, by McG in the era that we've talked about a lot, where Disney is like, we need things that boys like, and they don't have them. And over the time that Fincher is trying and failing to get this movie off the ground, Marvel and Star Wars get acquired, and they're like, we never need to make a John Carter ever again. We don't need to make Tron Legacy. We don't need to try to like mine our
we'll buy the IP.
Yes.
Yeah, rather than trying to invent it whole cloth. Now we'll probably see some attempts at invention again coming soon.
Oh.
Cleopatra, we've discussed this movie, I think, a little bit with Angelina Jolie. He is attached to that.
Yes.
Taking over from Paul Greengrass. That was originally a James Cameron project.
I'm fascinated that specific project.
It's the same one that Gal Gadot
is
right. But Patty Jenkins left it. Who's supposed to do it now?
Patty Jenkins is the queen of leaving projects. Yeah. I don't really know.
Well, I was going to say the Cleopatra movie almost feels like a project meant to help you negotiate for the project you actually want.
Right now, it's Kari Skogland.
Yes.
Who's that again?
Coming hot off of
Black
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
No. Yeah, no, that was it. Sorry.
Yes.
Wrong person.
Just an absolute victory lap for everyone's favorite Disney Plus show.
Yeah, she's done a lot of TV. Like that does not seem like someone I would hand a colossal project like that, but I don't know.
When Avatar came out and Cameron was like, I might actually have some more Avatar stories in me. And Fox was like, okay. And he's like, here's how much you'd have to pay me. And they were like,
you said this.
Well, slow it down.
Cleopatra's
he
leverage.
He then flirted with Cleopatra. And I feel like
Jolie flirted with Cleopatra. Julius Caesar.
Sure.
clear.
Yeah. No,
Antony and her had sex, but Julius and her, we don't actually know.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they didn't flirt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It was consummated. Yeah.
What's the other unrealized Fincher project, Griffin?
In this era?
Yes.
Specifically?
Star Wars Episode 7.
Of course.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes.
Definitely talks to him about it.
The first two
and he
asks
kind of says
in
to
some
her, like,
order are
"Can I do
her
it,
and Brad
Empire?"
Bird. Or him and Brad Bird.
Supposedly the first ask was Nolan, and Nolan just was like, click.
Right.
Like, and then, they did the courtesy Nolan ask.
Right.
And then it's Fincher and then Brad Bird.
Right. Brad Bird says, I
like,
would do it if I weren't doing Tomorrowland. A decision I think he probably backs up 100% to this day. And Fincher says, like, will you give me complete autonomy? And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
She gave her directors more autonomy than most, but yes. He also allowed a certain someone to be Frank in between these two movies, Tattoo and Gone Girl.
Which is important because he's had the success of House of Cards, which he gets less involved in as the show goes on, but he makes a tremendous amount of money over. And Netflix, as they often do, pays a bunch of money to like earn his shine and use it to boost their whole profile.
I mean, it is crazy, like, to think back. I remember sitting in that dinky Atlantic office.
Yeah.
The day House of Cards came out, and sort of before it came out, having
the Soho office or the Park Avenue?
Soho office, and having
Soho
no real sense of like what it was going to mean that there was a show on Netflix.
Maybe this is a one-off gimmick that they don't stick with.
It comes out and everyone starts watching it and just being like, "Oh, this is a new like."
People didn't even love it; they liked it.
That's
the thing about
but
it.
also everyone watched it like within that first weekend and just sort of like realizing that was a thing that was going to happen now was sort of like a strange. Was like thinking back to it is like sort of strange.
They also
like
hit
10 years ago.
It sucks. It hit, and then it very quickly, like, Netflix immediately had the kind of reputation that like HBO and AMC briefly fought to have of like, oh, does Netflix have like a brand identity that is a marker of some consistent level of quality?
It was briefly for about the first year. If Netflix had a show, it was interesting.
Right. It was like the equivalent of like a HBO putting something new on Sunday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now, it's still true. Every Netflix show.
Perfect
Prestige.
Shows. Watching these later digital Fincher movies recently, and knowing that he starts doing the shows around this time, we all complain about like the sameness of how all the Netflix shows look. And Netflix has basically a style guide that they impose on most shows. It does feel like, as much as I love the way that Zodiac, Dragon Tattoo, Social Network, and Gone Girl look, I do watch these movies now and go like, oh, we're kind of living in a world where everything is forced to look like a bad Fincher project.
Horrible
because
knockoff.
he established the look of Netflix Prestige.
But it's way not as
No,
good.
it's watered down.
Wait, what even is Netflix Prestige now? Genuine question. What's like their most prestige? I guess The Crown. Still.
The Crown is still, besides that, there's the sort of sub-universe, which I like, but it's very much its own thing of the Mike Flanagan shows.
Well, but that's over there.
Yeah.
I mean, now that's done. He's left.
Yeah, now he's done. I mean, Fall of the House of Usher was really fun, though. He makes fun shits. But
I'm talking more about their, like, shitty dramas. Like, their junky dramas.
The Diplomat?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. That I think look like crappy Fincher.
I don't watch those shows. You know why?
I don't watch them either. Of course
why?
I don't watch them. Why? Because you don't like bad things?
Yeah, I don't want to.
I also think they have started to look less like crappy Fincher.
Mm-hmm.
The Diplomat sort of looks like 24s.
I mean, or like
The
Diplomat
Carrie Russell.
Carrie Russell.
It's pretty fun.
It's pretty fun because it's just sort of like
she's a diplomat.
She's a diplomat. It's like not smart, but it's like it's very entertaining, and she's great to watch.
So Carrie Russell's the diplomat. Richard Madden's the bodyguard.
Yep. Yeah.
What's the one with the kid from Super 8?
I don't know.
Where he's like the agent or something.
I don't
fucking
know. I can't keep up with this.
It was
garbage.
Something for a second. Sorry,
and then
go on.
The other Netflix Prestige thing, just to close the circle on this, which is its own thing, is also the Bridgertons. stuff, which is quasi
prestige.
I know, but it's quasi prestige, and they're still trying.
The Night Agent is the one I was fucking thinking of.
I don't
know
what that is.
I like my night managed, okay, by Tom Hiddleston, not to have an agent who is from Super 8.
And I like my agents in broad daylight.
Yeah, I have no idea what this
Gillian
is.
Flynn.
Wait, you guys are forgetting that Emily went to Paris.
Emily went to Paris.
And that's pretty prestige.
Didn't they buy that off of Paramount
They buy a lot of this shit. They buy it all.
That was made for a channel.
Listen to me. They can go. No, they're all right. I don't care. Who cares?
Someone's Netflix paychecks are about to stop showing up. Notoriously kind on all Netflix projects, David Sims.
Look, if they make something good, I am nice to it.
No, I think you're more critical than most.
Yeah, they've been mad at me at moments.
David?
Yeah.
I used to have a very simple strategy for how I went about living my life.
Yeah.
Be a fool.
Okay.
I thought it would pay off.
Okay.
Wildly.
How'd it go?
To be an inexperienced, unequipped, ill-prepared fool.
Okay.
You're talking about this in the past tense.
Well, because I changed to the mindset of a master.
What happened?
I took some master classes from MasterClass, our sponsor MasterClass.
Oh, boy.
And they taught me how to be smart and how to know what you are doing in various different fields.
Because look, MasterClass, I feel like people initially thought of MasterClass. It's like, oh, you watch Martin Scorsese talk about movie making.
Which I love doing. I want to make it clear. I love doing that.
But now they have all kinds of other, like, sort of more, like, honed stuff as well.
Sure.
You know, I'm looking at their page right now, like, you know, build your own startup, style your own hair for any occasion, like, design a space you love. Like, it's, you know, you're working with experts in their fields, figuring out specific tasks you might want to perfect or gain some confidence in.
Now, that having been said, you listen to this podcast, you listen to Blank Check, you might be interested in listening to, watching Werner Herzog teaches filmmaking. 6 hours, 6 minutes of that guy going off.
Probably pretty good.
The Scorsese one is incredible. Ron Howard one is like really kind of effectively practical, unsurprisingly.
I mean,
it's just
what he's
like
good at,
really
right?
good meat and potatoes. Here's how filmmaking works. Helen Mirren and Samuel Jackson both have incredibly good ones on acting.
Ooh.
Samuel Jackson in particular, his is like very much how to have a career as an actor.
Be Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
I'm joking.
Which is very hard to do. No, but he's like, he's not just talking about like a craft of acting, but he's talking about like how you like structure a day as an actor.
I love that kind of
how
stuff.
you work on a set.
The classic Sidney Lumet, just like
It's the
remember to
stuff-
eat a banana.
Right.
you
That
know.
I say like no acting program teaches. If that's a thing you're interested in, I highly recommend watching that.
MasterClass. Look, the thing about them is they've got all kinds of stuff. You know, you can watch them on TV. You
Got a lot
can
of
listen to them in
masters.
audio mode.
Sure.
Use the app.
Mm-hmm.
Quality speaks for itself.
Of course.
Membership start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 instructors.
A lot. And they're long. These are long.
Yeah, and there's new classes added every month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got, like I said, you got, you know, Melody Hobson on strategic decision making. I'm looking at some of the new ones. Noam Chomsky on independent thinking and media's invisible powers.
Mm-hmm.
You can pull from like any sort of like field or world or way of thinking.
But then there's also just like 7 hours on how to barbecue correctly.
Well,
you know, sometimes, yeah.
You got to cook it low and slow. Okay.
You have to cook it low and slow.
All right. Right now, our listeners will get an additional 15% off an annual membership at masterclass.com/check.
That's not nothing.
Get 15% off right now at masterclass.com/check. Masterclass.com/check.
Stop being a fool. Become a master.
Gillian Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment Weekly. She graduates from Northwestern University in 1998. Thank you for including this fact, JJ.
Thank you, JJ.
Gillian Flynn. JJ went to Northwestern, to be clear. Gillian Flynn worked at EW.
Isn't it Gillian?
Gillian Flynn worked at EW. I don't know.
Yeah.
I dated a Gillian, so I always default to Gillian.
Humble brag, my friend.
Gillian Flynn. Is it Gillian?
I believe it's Gillian.
Went to EW and would always try to write novels. She said she had many failed attempts and then read Dennis Lehane's Mystic River, which in my opinion is an incredible piece of writing that was turned into a flawed movie.
His worst adaptation?
That's an interesting question. I would have to take a look at the whole list. She reads that and she's like, this has an unsolved crime as its spine, but it's not really about the crime. Like it's about the characters and all this emotional stuff.
The crime is the red herring in a
exactly.
way. Yes.
And so she's like, that's what I need. I need some sort of crime as the red herring
for what the book's actually about.
Right. And so Sharp Objects and Dark Places are both kind of like attempts at that, right? Has anyone seen Dark Places, the Charlize Theron movie?
I read the book. I have not seen the movie.
Does exist.
Yeah.
It does.
Every time I'm like, wait, why is no one... someone actually has. Right. And it just didn't go anywhere.
Who directed that? Ariaga?
No.
Someone halfway respectable directed that movie?
No. Ariaga, you're thinking of The Burning Plane, right?
Which is the Jennifer Lawrence.
Gilles Paquette Brenner.
Okay, well.
Truly not no offense to him, but not someone I know.
He's a big blanket. He's active on the Reddit. He's gonna be really happy to hear that.
I know he is. It came that movie Dark Places came out a year after Gone Girl and had like Gone Girl on the poster, like from the author of Gone Girl. You know, they were really trying.
The character, the poster is Charlize Theron holding up the theatrical one sheet for Gone Girl.
Wait, you know what? I actually think I did see Dark Places,
and
it's not very
clearly memorable as hell.
But the book is fun.
In the old big
the first two books are moderate success, but not huge. Gone Girl in 2012, huge breakthrough.
Kind of immediately, right? Like an immediate literary phenomenon.
That was one of those books that was regarded as trashy because it's a crime novel. And because of the way it was marketed, I would say.
Yeah.
And then there were even people kind of writing pieces of like, this should have been considered for awards and wasn't because of the kind of bias against this genre.
Arguably the exact same thing that happened to the movie.
Indeed.
I mean, and this is also like the thing that obviously we have to talk about this, but like when you're reading that book, it is such a skilled piece of like literary ingenuity. Like, I mean, it's just like
unreliable narrators.
Well,
two unreliable narrators.
But when you reach that halfway point and it switches, it's
also good in the movie.
Also great in the movie. And I remember I'd read the book and I remember being like I was a huge fan of the book and I was so excited for the movie because I was a huge fan of David Fincher. But it was sort of like, how's he gonna do this? Like, when she adapts it, like, how are they gonna make this work on screen? Because it is such like a little fun piece of first person narration trickery.
And a very literary
convention.
sort of,
she's putting herself in it more in a way. She's from Missouri. She exited journalism, at a sort of crisis point for that industry, much like Amazing Amy and Amazing Nick.
I remember loving her EW work.
That was sort of a golden age of EW.
And that Mark Harris was like landed as a distinct voice of
that was a good time for EW. Leslie Dixon, producer who worked on movies like Freaky Friday and The Thomas Crown Affair.
And does Sharp Objects?
Sure, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
Reads the manuscript, takes it right to the top of Sunshine Mountain and delivers it to Reese Witherspoon.
She said, "Hello, Sunshine."
Yes. Reese Witherspoon loved the book, the manuscript. They start pitching it around. 20th Century Fox acquires the rights. And Witherspoon actually never had the rights. She shepherded the deal and was brought on as a producer, but she did not own the rights at any point. Gil Flynn, I call her.
Gilly.
Old Gilly. Yes, Gilly.
Sorry.
Target Lady takes the first pass of the script and then that didn't work out. So they brought in Gilly.
Yes.
That didn't work out. So they brought in Gillian Flynn.
Right. They asked Liza Minnelli to turn on a lamp.
Gilly writes a screenplay. She'd also never written a screenplay before. She turns to A Simple Plan for inspiration, which I really like.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
The band?
The band. No, the movie
that we covered on this podcast.
The Ben Hosley story, of course.
If I was in this movie, it would have ended with me owning an island, of course. One of the all-time great Ben thoughts.
She considers that one of the all-time great book to film adaptations. She said, so I can maybe...
And that's also similarly the novelist adapting his own.
Right. And changing it. And being judicious about changes. And she said, so I tried to use that as a model. And then I freaked myself out because I was like, well, this is too good. And I won't do this well. The book is quite long, I would say. It's a pretty dense book. So she says she writes it all out as a screenplay. That's like very long. So then she starts pulling stuff out. There's some rumors that she was going to change the ending, but she doesn't change the ending. She just kind of simplifies the ending.
Yeah.
And does it really fast.
Way is the ending more complicated?
The ending is longer in my memory. It's got there's more time with like the media stuff.
So long that I've read the book. So long ago that I read the book, and I've seen the movie so many times that I can't
It's overpowered it. Yeah, in your memory.
Turns into screenplay. Fincher reads it and is like, "This is what I want to do."
Mm-hmm.
It's not just I want to do Gone Girl. It's like she has the right approach.
Sure.
So rather than the novelist took a pass, let's now kick her off and bring in Andrew Kevin Walker, Scott Burns, Eric Roth, whatever. He's like, I will work together with her on like making this great. Like, and she's the writer.
It is interesting. He obviously, Andrew Kevin Walker does a lot of sort of uncredited ghost work on a lot of his scripts, but I feel like he is pretty loyal to his screenwriters, where even if the material's not totally working for him, he'd rather just drill into that person for like a year and a half until they give him the version of it that he wants.
They just seem to really like each other. They seem to have very much clicked, those two.
Well, they almost immediately announce after this the Strangers on a Train that doesn't happen.
Would have been cool.
With the two of them and Affleck.
Could have been cool.
Could have been cool.
I mean, I love A Train.
Yeah.
I love Strangers.
Yes.
And I see all of his Strangers this year and I'm like, where's the train?
Put him on a train.
You're just sitting?
You have the right amount of strangers for once in a movie.
I'm sorry. Andrew Scott rides a lot of trains in that movie.
He actually does. That movie actually, I will be clear, has tons of trains.
There's a ton of trains in that movie.
I have complaints about that movie, but I should be clear, not its lack of trains.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice if it was called All of Us Strangers on a Train. I'm just saying,
I'll agree with that.
Seats. Yeah. Like, you know. Finch, they talk about movies they like. Lolita, Clockwork Orange, Talented Mr. Ripley. She goes to Steve Kloves and is like, how did you adapt the Harry Potter books? Like, how did you approach like just what to keep, what not, right?
Sure.
Just that kind of like.
I love her because that's like just such a
kind of a clever thing to do.
I also like went to J school. I don't know if she went to Medill, but I'm a journalist. Sort of. This is how you figure out how to write a screenplay is by asking other people.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Especially adaptation, which is very specific. You're not going to learn the same way from like going to Sid Field classes or whatever. Yeah.
Fincher makes some changes. She collects her own blood in the book. He doesn't like that. He's like, that wouldn't work. Like he makes changes like that where he's like, no, practically that makes no sense. Where he's like, it's too, if you cut your jugular, like, no, too hard. Like I just like thinking about it.
Sure.
The big three names initially cited, this is insane, in a Variety story for casting: Abby Cornish, Olivia Wilde, Julianne Hough. What? I mean, should have just, stopped right there.
That's wild.
Emily Blunt, Natalie Portman, Charlize, all no mentioned, but those are all squashed. And Rosamund Pike then floats, into nowhere, out of nowhere as the
and
pick.
Reese wants to do it,
yeah,
and he says no.
I don't know if there are quotes to this effect in the dossier, but like the way I always heard him talk about it was like, I read this and I immediately felt it needed to be a Hitchcock blonde, which is just not who Reese is as a type. I think
Rosamund Pike literally played a character in a play called Hitchcock Blonde,
right.
Of course. Yes.
I think Reese could have played this role incredibly well in a different version of this movie.
Right.
I don't think she would fit into a Fincher version.
Don't think Reese is right for this role in the sense that I think you put Reese Witherspoon in like a southern town and you're like, yeah, this person sort of fits there.
Well,
and I think I think that is the key Reese problem, is that like she has too much of that. I know she can play sort of outside of that, but her whole aesthetic and whole vibe has been sort of, even when she's sort of trying to subvert it, like in something like Sweet Home Alabama or whatever. The idea is like, no, that is who she is at her core.
I agree with you.
I agree with this take, Esther.
She is like, Amy has to be somehow so out of place in Southern Missouri.
Well, it's like the first time Kim Dickens is questioning Affleck, and she's kind of like needling him, and like
she's like, she has no friends. Like, you mean that part?
Right. And I think Affleck says the thing about like, she's from New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, there's something where the moment that character is on screen, you need to get to like, there's some silent air of judgment around her. The second they have to move to Missouri, you have to know that she's not going to be able to hit quite the same frequency as people. I agree with you that even if like Reese can act it, Fincher talks so much about like the bone deep energy of people that he's casting based around.
My take is I would like to see it. I guess I'd
be interested to see it. I just don't think it would work as well.
It's probably true. I just sort of love to imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Reese is like one of the most undervalued actors alive.
I think she's incredible.
Yeah. And I think anytime she's challenged, she rises to it.
I agree.
And she doesn't get challenged anymore. Partly her own, like sort of mogul status at this point. I mean, I don't watch the morning show. Perhaps there are challenges.
But while being this year,
plenty.
She's like, I'm a Southern girl and I'm standing up to Jennifer Aniston. Like,
I get.
While being this year felt like there was this air of, and she was coming off of Mud, which is obviously a smaller part, but she's really good in. And it felt like there was this energy of like, I want to remind people why I won an Oscar. I want to find like interesting shit to dig into.
Before I won an Oscar, I was like
one of the most promising,
huge talent, like, election onwards.
And I think Wild is proof. Like, she's really good in Wild.
She's incredibly good in Wild.
Just one of my favorite movie performances of recent years.
Yeah,
so I think Wild is one of the great films, and it's like not regarded as such.
It's kind of forgotten.
It's wonderful, and
I love it so much.
So good in it, and it feels like and it does feel like that role challenges her to be something that's not her.
Yeah,
but in a way where she has that grit that that works so well for Wild.
Obviously, she's also in Inherent Vice that year, and then it's like Hot Pursuit, Home Again, a Fincherian film.
Yes.
Wrinkle in Time, Big Little Lies, which she is very good,
incredibly good.
Yeah, she's fabulous, and
but that's also another thing that she spearheaded, right?
It. She really doesn't fucking make movies anymore.
Am I wrong though? She's
Big Little Lies. Of course, that's her. Yes, that's
right. That was Hello Sunshine.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So it's like,
did you not see how bright that movie was? The sun's shining.
She has this. Yeah, no, I see what you're doing.
I did watch the her and Ashton rom-com that came out this year.
But I mean, I heard that was like
it was
Toxic
not good.
Waste, like so bad.
But this is another like indicative of she kind of like now sleeps in the bed that she made, right? Like of
money.
This is my point. I mean, it's the same with Fincher and the Netflix shit, right? Where it's a little bit of Faustian bargain, where it's like 2014 is this year where she's clearly like, I need to challenge myself. I need to work with directors who are going to push me. Then she immediately flips back to two comedies that are kind of comfort zone movies for her, and neither of them work. And then Big Little Lies is like, holy shit, what do you mean they're all on a TV show together? And you got a movie director to do it.
Yeah.
And it kind of changes everything, where then that type of project becomes, you do it as a miniseries.
Well, I mean, it's
Sharp
like
Objects becomes a miniseries.
Yeah.
Bad. Sharp Objects would have been a good movie. It's a bad miniseries.
But all these things get fucked. Like,
it's too long.
It's too long, but it would have been it would have been a good movie. Better movie.
Same
but
fucking
I like
cast. Would have been great. Messina. He gets his dick out, right?
Yes, he does.
I'm just saying, Reese has done 4.
Is that like a Gillian Flynn like writer thing? Like there's gonna be full frontal.
Guy's got to show hog. Reese has done 4 TV shows now, or 3?
Little Fires Everywhere, Big Little Lies, and The Morning Show is 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a 4th. Those are the big 3.
She's
but
not
Nicole has done so many too.
Yes. But
to be fair, she also got an Oscar nomination for being the Ricardos in that time.
Esther, she got an Oscar nomination for becoming Lucy
Ricardo. But not only that, she was the front runner for a bit. We almost had to deal with that.
Yes. It was almost surprising the relief of like, oh great, Chastain won instead for a performance that everyone's going to forget. Which I contend she's very good in that.
I think it's and I'm pro Jess.
Absolute bullet dodge by not having to live with Academy Award winning film being the Ricardos.
All right. I do love this quote by Fincher about Pike, who I think is excellent in Gone Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And as an actor, I love. I feel like she's had such a frustrating post Gone Girl career because Hollywood's just like Ice Queen. You know, like they only have that for her, and she's such a good actor.
And she's so warm in like Pride and Prejudice. Like
her best performance.
But she's so wonderful in that. Like, and so sweet and lovely in that film.
They latch on to darkly funny. Have neither of you seen Saltburn yet?
I've seen Saltburn.
We have both.
Okay.
She's very funny.
She's very funny.
That's the only reason I'm excited for that movie.
She has
minus one-dimensional role. It's not even zero-dimensional. It's negative dimensional.
She is someone who can make those things work.
But that movie, which is, in my opinion, stupid.
I think that movie is very fun.
Yeah.
The movie is fun for a good 60 minutes, and then there's 80 more minutes.
I just get jazzed at her, like, in the trailer being like,
she's totally fun.
Is someone going to let her rip?
She does
a
rip.
little bit.
A little bit.
Not enough. Not nearly enough. Carrie Mulligan is fucking hysterical in that movie.
She's so
But she comes in.
Saltburn?
She comes in, hits 3 threes, and then leaves. Okay. And like, you know, she is in 20 minutes of that movie.
Yeah, it's basically a cameo, but she's so funny.
That's really funny. I think Elordi is incredible in it. I'm really pro that guy.
Interesting.
He's great in Priscilla too.
Yeah. I mean, whatever.
You like him because he's tall.
I like Priscilla.
I like him because what?
Because he's tall.
You know, he is really tall.
He's so tall.
He's shockingly tall.
Here's something interesting though about Pike and about those 3 other people being at the top of
like the Wild Howe,
the list,
and I already forgot the other one now.
Yes,
Cornish was hot.
Yes,
this was after Bright Star.
It kind of feels like this movie fundamentally breaks if you, in 2014, cast a major movie star, an established leading lady. Like, it's not like Rosamund Pike was unknown, but all 3 of those people, there's something of like, the audience hasn't totally formed an opinion of who they are.
Yeah.
And so it's not even like the Reese thing of they have to play against something. There's like the mystery of like, I don't have a read on her.
I think that's totally true. I also think there was a genuine budget thing of like, if you're getting Affleck, he's expensive.
Sure.
So, you know, can we save on the actress? I do like this quote from Fincher. Amy had to be an only child, he said. When I met Rosamund, she was a dyed-in-the-wool only child. She just exudes it. She's an orchid, and you get that. She was socialized with adults, and that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The whole sort of like body language and like attitude of her. Yes.
That feels like a burn towards only children, of which I am one.
Yeah, same. I'm a little offended.
Yeah.
Love this quote. 2
You're
only
both
children
orchids.
in the 2 orchids.
Yeah.
Beautiful orchids. Sensitive.
Hey,
Careful.
easy.
The night before production started, Rosamund Pike had 103-degree fever and threw up 3 times. She emailed Tom Cruise, her Jack Reacher co-star.
Yes.
And freaking out.
Yeah.
And he emailed back, trust yourself. You're in the hands of a great director. You're ready.
God damn it.
Goosebumps.
Wow.
God damn it.
The Cruise email. He's Tom.Cruise@gmail.com.
Yeah.
When is he gonna get up with Finchy?
Would love to see it. I mean, obviously Mission Impossible was sort of the big flirtation, but I don't know.
That's so good. That's such a mic drop email.
Isn't it cool? And also the idea of her being like, you know, maybe just like hitting the Reacher group chat.
Yeah.
And Yellow's like, you're fine. You know, like Werner Herzog is like, I think that you will do well. And then Cruise is
Jenkins giving it the ha-ha stamp.
Yeah. Fucking Jai Courtney writes like 2 paragraphs and it's like, you're in that for 10 minutes, buddy.
The thing that's nice about that email and its succinctness is that it's like both you're in the hands of a master, he's not going to let you fail, and also you fundamentally are ready.
Sorry, this is so off topic, but have you read the thing about like there's the new Scott Pilgrim like animated show?
He's in it, bro.
You're in it?
I'm in it, bro.
But did you see
the little parts?
But did you see the like one of the reasons the cast all got together was like they had that email thread, and then 6 years later, Michael Cera responded to the email thread.
Yes, I saw that.
Which is really
that's a power move. People think he's just he's so delightful, and he power moves all the way with Cera.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's winning every interaction.
Right. He's got that email in like 2017. He was like, I'm gonna give this one 6 years. I'm gonna let it sit.
This is a 6
He
year.
was at the IFC when I did a Q&A for the very nice film Fremont. Just seeing the movie.
Really?
An incredible movie. Recommend to anyone.
Fremont.
You would like it, Griff.
Yeah.
And fucking Greg Turkington's in it.
Right. And it's the same. It's the writer of Amanda, which is one of my favorite movies of the year.
There you go.
Yeah.
Have either of you seen
Like
Amanda?
I haven't seen Amanda.
Nope, got to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
John Hamm is considered for the role of Nick Dunn. Affleck is incredible in this movie. It uses Affleck so well, and he has a much more reasonably sized penis than Mr. Hamm. Like in Hamm, it would be like the guy has 3 legs. I don't understand. This is the late twist. He's an alien.
You've seen a Dolby in the seat shake off.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to Mr. Hamm, who I respect.
Fuck up the sound when the thing hits the shower time.
Right?
John Hamm is from Missouri.
Right.
And John Hamm, of course, at that moment really would work as kind of like, this guy's handsome, but a douchebag. Like I don't know. Should I trust him or truly think of him as evil? Like he makes a lot of sense.
This is like last season of Mad Men.
Yes, correct.
And this is also
he
the
couldn't
moment
fit it into his Mad Men schedule.
Right. He now talks about it as that was mine. It was supposed to be mine.
I think he was the first choice.
Yeah. It really sounds like it. But yes, no, this is also the moment where people are like, can he please successfully make the jump over to movie star?
I wish it had happened. I'm not saying he has a bad career.
He has a good body of work. He has a good career.
And he's done good movies. He's worked with interesting people.
Yeah.
He now is in this weird, like, I'll come in for the second season of your show or whatever phase.
Right.
Isn't he on the morning show?
He's on the morning show playing Elon Musk right now.
Yeah.
No one is talking about this because no one watches that show.
But whenever anyone tells me about something that's happened on the show, I'm sort of like, should I watch it? Because it's crazy. Like, apparently their January 6th
episode. But then everyone's like, don't
like,
watch it. Don't watch it.
Yeah.
Apparently their January 6th episode was like insane.
You're kidding me. It wasn't normal?
But you're right. He's in that weird Aaron
very
Paul
newsroom core
zone. And Cranston's in this too, where it's like you returning to TV should be a monumental deal. And instead it just kind of happens every couple of years.
This is the fucking problem with TV now, which, again, we can rant about again, but where it's like, okay. Affleck. I love this quote from Fincher about Affleck. Gone Girl, there's a smile a guy has to give what the local press asks him to stand next to a poster.
All that fucking moment.
I flipped through 50 images of Ben Affleck giving that kind of smile in public situations.
Yeah.
It's so funny that Fincher is so upfront about, like, I'm casting this guy because of how he's had to deal with the press.
We have to talk about the speech where he says marriage is hard work.
Yes.
Please go
when
ahead.
Does his divorce happen relative to this movie?
It's after,
but
right?
Like
or is it right after? Oh, man. It's so funny that when you Google him, the image now, it's like 4 pictures of him looking sad and then the beach photo with him got the towel around him.
But his Oscar speech where he says...
So that's 2013.
2013.
Right.
Where he says, like, it's like... Or it's good, it's work, but it's the best kind of work.
Right.
It's like that could be a line from Gone
Absolutely.
Girl.
That's a Nick Dunn fuck
and everyone's because he forgets to thank her at the Globes.
Yes.
And then he gets up and does this, and everyone's like, Jesus Christ.
And then, mind you, on top of that, he then hosts the season finale of SNL that May, and his whole monologue is him bringing Garner up on stage and trying to atone for that comment at the Oscars. And he oversells that bit.
It's like
in a way where you see it go from Garner being like, I'm playing along, I'm a good sport, to being like, he doth protest too much.
They split up in June of 2015. So about 6-7 months later. Yeah. Fincher says he's very bright. He's got a great sense of humor, but he also really understands situations like this. And I really like that about him. Here's this guy who may have killed his wife, but I would also love to grab a cheeseburger with him. That's the vibe he sees in Affleck.
It's the same as the Rosamund Pike thing. And I know I said this in the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo episode and that exhaustive casting search, which I do think informs the way he approaches Amy going into this movie as well, of like, I got to sort of build a performance with someone who was a little bit new to the audience. But he's like, I cast for whatever the most like essential innate quality is in an actor that's still going to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning on take 100. And I think,
yes,
as much as like Affleck has been on a quiet heater for the last 10 years as an actor, starting with Gone Girl, I think John Hamm is fundamentally a better actor, but I don't think he would be better in this movie in a sort of like Barry Lyndon way.
I mean, I love Affleck in this movie so much.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it. My Hamm thing is more just it's like, I just love to see that guy have like 5 great movie roles. Right.
Totally.
And have had it. But he also has a great career.
But like the power of that smile moment and like 5 other moments in this movie, including him saying, marriage is like a battle or whatever with like the layers, the text that you're bringing to it.
Well, I think it's so, I mean, have you guys ever done like an Affleck? Have you ever done like an Affleck run?
BVS, our lost episode. Yeah, and we did Justice League.
We did sort of fun. Yeah. I feel like we discussed him as Batman.
But you've never really discussed him because I just think like
it's a good question.
Such an interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, no, come on. Surely we've done. All right, let's see.
We did Armageddon at the drive-through.
But no, we didn't really talk about the movie. We didn't do reindeer games? We haven't done that one? Okay. Yet.
No, I'm with you, Esther. You need to dig in.
Like,
because there's a lot of movies like Gigli we will do one day.
Absolutely. It's a promise to our listeners.
Pearl Harbor we might do one day. Yes. Now, these are not his best films.
No.
Well, it's just like, I feel like, it's so interesting, like him at this phase. Because it's like, I think right now in 2023, as we're thinking about this, we've all
done Batman.
We've like fully.
He's been in a lot of bad movies.
Yes.
I feel like we have culturally swung back into like, yes, we love Ben Affleck moment. The sort of getting back with J-Lo, the Air is good. Air is very fun.
Air rocks.
Not only that, he's like trying to like build a better industry to support adult films.
Yes.
His
like
Dunkin' ads
movies
are fun.
Yeah.
Like we're sort of like culturally we are very pro Ben Affleck. But I feel like in 2014, he obviously had just won an Oscar. Like he had just won Best Picture.
He's on the downswing.
But it does feel like
he gets Batman on the set of this movie. And that's like part of the downswing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is what's fascinating about it.
But it's weird that it's like, it's weird that this is like 2 years after his movie that came out that won an Oscar. And yet everyone is sort of like, everyone felt bad for him when he didn't get the director nomination, but then sort of swung back around. Is like, did we really have to give this Best Picture?
The man has had 50 comebacks. I've talked about it on this podcast.
It's one of the most fascinating careers.
And what you are referring to is one of his, like a mini comeback with it. It's like, Argo's back. And then he doesn't get the thing. And like, oh, poor Argo. Oh, poor Ben Affleck. Let's give him a comeback again. Let's give him Best Picture.
Right.
The charity of giving him Best Picture. That's the only reason Argo won. Argo was destined to get a bunch of noms, including Best Director.
Yes.
And if it had, something else would have won. What
do you think would have won, though?
Lincoln, probably.
Lincoln just weirdly felt DOA after being seen as the juggernaut for so long.
Never
being such a big
never good
hit.
to be the juggernaut
the
whole time. That's undeniable.
Like there's something to the fact that
I guess Zero Dark 30 had that moment.
Zero Dark 30 had a month where it felt like it was going to win.
It had a month, and then.
But I think what's telling is that Ang Lee wins for Life of Pi, a movie that never had the juice to win Best Picture.
Yeah, but it had the most tigers.
It did have one, but more than others.
No tigers in Lincoln.
I want to dig into this though, because his career is so fascinating, right? But there's this feeling of like throughout the 90s, he's such a big star, but no one seems to really like him. He's in one of those weird positions, a little bit of like a Ryan O'Neal thing, right?
Yeah,
where
Ryan O'Neal's a good comp.
Not only like does the press attack this guy,
personal life side,
but it almost feels like the public treats him as a joke. And yet most of his movies are hits. And we're obsessed with him as a public figure, right? And Damon is slowly building up this like greater career.
Big cred, yeah.
Right. And then there's the Bourne Identity moment where it's like, well, for a while the divide was that Damon was doing the serious prestige stuff with serious filmmakers, and Affleck makes the big dumb blockbusters that people like, but they're not taken seriously. And now Damon has like an elite action franchise, and that's coming right at the moment that Gigli hits, that the press cycle of like Bennifer goes out of control. He totally loses it, and then he's like, I have to go back into the dirt and rebuild myself as a serious filmmaker. And it was sort of getting back to this, like, remember this guy wrote Good Will Hunting? In interviews, all these people who work with him talk about how intelligent he is, and yet the public thinks of him as an idiot. When he does press, he seems insincere, right? It's the fake smile in front of the poster. Sure. He makes these dumb comments. He steps in it, all this shit. And it's like he's going to go and make grown-up movies. And everyone is impressed with Gone Baby Gone as like a low-level hit. And they're like, guy sort of proved himself. Okay. Then Town's like a hit.
Town's so good.
And now he's putting himself as the star in the movie. But it almost feels like, well, he knows that that's a chip he can play to help get the thing financed, and also like gives him as some control as a director. And he's the lead in Argo and The Town. But in both cases, he's kind of doing like the selfless heavy lifting of the movie and letting all the supporting actors shine.
And I feel like the thing with Argo too is
go fuck yourself.
Well, yes, or go fuck yourself.
Yes.
Clearly, classically.
That's the thing with it. That's the thing.
Yeah, that is the thing. It is the one thing.
But with his, everyone's sort of like, that movie's fun. Like, it's like well made.
It's a big tittied hit. We should acknowledge.
It's a big tittied hit.
It had big floppy financial titties.
When do we ban this phrase?
I don't know how it started.
Close.
I don't know how big tittied hit started, but I feel like him casting himself, everyone was sort of eye rolling because it was also, it was supposed to be like the guy was Latino. Like it wasn't like, it was
Absolutely.
like, why are you casting yourself? And I do feel like even though he had sort of like established himself as a good, like as a solid and good filmmaker by that point, by the time he's coming into the Gone Girl, no one had really, he still was like, he's not that good of an actor.
This is my point. And those two movies, he's playing the lead, but he's sort of just the guy holding the center of the film. And no one is like calling him out as like a highlight of the movie. They're like, he's actually a better director and writer than he is actor.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. It's like, he should have been doing this the whole time. He is not that good of an actor.
Right. And it's like, Arkin's getting a supporting nom. Renner's getting a supporting nom. He's just sort of like keeping the movie on its rails. So when they announced that he's doing Gone Girl, it's like, wait, Affleck should be going straight back into directing another movie. He should only be acting in his own films.
He did.
Why is he taking other acting jobs?
He made Live by Night.
But gets pushed back because of this.
Yes.
Yeah, but he made it right after this.
I know, that movie came out so much.
It came out much later.
I like that movie. I'm a defender of Live by Night.
That's a wild opinion.
Well, have you seen it?
No.
So maybe shut the fuck up.
Okay.
No, well, Live by Night is like 2/3 of a good movie. He is the problem in it.
Yes.
But, it's in the middle of Batman. He's clearly like weighed down at that point.
Well, he was supposed to go
it is so interesting.
I know. It came out in 2016. It wasn't like a huge
Not to
delay.
jump ahead in time, but it does feel like in the past, I guess, like 3 years, he has also figured out how to use himself in films better.
Yes.
Like it's like the Last Duel like he's so good in the Last Duel.
On an incredible run.
Have you seen Triple Frontier?
No, your favorite movie.
Yeah, you
awesome
love
in that. Now that is emo Affleck.
Yeah.
He's really sad in that movie.
Which I like
really well.
him.
Same with a movie we both like.
The Way Back.
Way Back.
Which he's incredible.
I
sad
love
as fuck.
I love The Way Back, which feels like that movie's so good. He's so good, and it feels like a weird commentary on his own alcoholism.
100%. Of course.
Well, it doesn't even feel like it is. Yeah.
And then Last Jewel in Air, he's like, I will play a weird little princeling. It'll be fun.
Yeah. He's doing the Shakespeare in Love thing, which he was always so good in.
He's only okay in Deep Water, which I kind of hoped for as like a Gone Girl 2.
I mean, that whole movie
just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he gave the greatest performance in the history of film. Films released by Ketchup Entertainment. I'm talking about Hypnotic.
I have not seen Hypnotic.
David, Ketchup Entertainment.
David, that was a masterfully delivered joke. You played that beautifully.
Unfortunately, no one knows what Ketchup Entertainment is, but I'm here to tell you, they released Hypnotic.
Was targeted straight for me.
For you. It was really only for you. Ben doesn't know what's going on. He's looking at his phone.
I know what's going on.
It is.
I know you know.
It is fascinating because I'm just like, look,
you don't know what Ketchup Entertainment is, but that's fine. You shouldn't. No one should know what it is.
You're like, he does no acting work between The Town and Argo, right? Well, I guess To the Wonder comes out the same year as Argo and was probably shot 15 years earlier.
Right, that was shot in the 70s.
Right. Runner is when you're like, dude, get back to making movies. Don't do this bullshit.
Never seen that.
In other people's films.
Is there any Runner fan out there?
No, everyone hates that movie.
Yeah.
And I think Affleck basically talks about that like halfway through production, he kind of took over it and he was like, this was a mistake. I need to only work with like really top tier directors if I'm going to hire myself out as an actor.
Brad Furman coming off The Lincoln Lawyer, which is one of those movies where like when you watch Lincoln Lawyer, you're not like, get me this director. You're kind of like, wow, McConaughey's like pulling this along. Like, yeah.
But then it's like, right, he does this, which he's like perfectly cast in. Then he goes straight into Batman.
Yeah,
the anecdote.
Justice was dawning.
Well, the fucking chin joke in this movie, right? Which is like, you can't believe that existed in the book and the script before they hired him. It's such a good summation of like, the weird tension of this guy where you're like, there is something I just don't believe.
There's just one thing Affleck has done that doesn't fit into what we're talking about, which is The Accountant, which is one of those movies where you're like, why'd you do this? But then you're like, but it actually hit and is well liked.
It was a huge ass hit.
Like
they were trying
like
to make a sequel.
movie. Right.
It also got him linked up with Gavin O'Connor.
It got him The Way Back, but like, it's sort of like a runner where you're like, why are you wasting your time on this? But you were actually probably right
it's the same thing as him taking Batman again, right? Like the joke was the Chin thing's in the script. He calls up his agent while making Gone Girl and says like, I'm doing the evil Chin movie now. You got to find me a heroic Chin movie. And Batman versus Superman also was like, I think Snyder wanted Hamm or Brolin were the big two before he got to Affleck. I definitely heard
Brolin. I think Hamm was, considered for both.
Passed and said, I don't want to do superhero shit.
Hamm was very much like, I'm too old for this shit, I think. Yeah.
Brolin was his top choice, and I forget why it didn't work out. And then it's sort of like a maneuver of Affleck using the heat, but it felt like, dude.
Brolin might have been interesting.
Brolin would have been good. And I don't think Affleck's bad as
I mean,
Batman.
I think Affleck, we've talked about
but
it.
It just
looks
also
like he wants a vape every
But it also but it's also just like, it felt like such a midlife crisis move to play when it was announced that he was playing Batman, and then he's getting yoked too. He's just like, it's like he did this thing. It felt weirdly in conjunction with like Gone Girl in the like sense that you're just like, oh my God. Like it's just like,
would you play Batman?
Would I? Yeah, I think I do a really good job. I think people would be really happy if they announced me as Batman.
No, Pattinson's too big. We're gonna go a little smaller. I'm just saying, like, is it hard to turn down Batman?
Kind of, but what's fascinating about Affleck is you're
has
like
all the power in the world to turn things down at this point.
And he had literally done Daredevil.
Just won he won Best Picture.
How it could go wrong.
I think around when Air was coming out, I went down a rabbit hole of watching like every long form Ben Affleck interview because he's an unbelievable interview, especially. The last 5 years, he's just gotten so candid.
Oh my God. That Hollywood Reporter interview that came out with Air was like, wow. Okay.
I sent emails that were humiliatingly desperate when Air was coming out, being like, please let me talk to him. I would love to talk to him.
Always the thing of like,
just because he talks so much.
People who worked with him were like, you don't understand how smart and funny this guy is. And then when he do press, you're like, none of this is coming across. And it felt like he was doing this like Nick Dunn, insincere, I have to play normal straight man, leading man kind of stuff. And then finally the last 5 years, he's like, I'm showing you all the full me. I'm not saying the tattoo is for a role anymore.
Yeah.
Like all this shit. But there was one of those interviews I watched, he talked about like how bitter he still was after winning Best Picture. Right. Of just like, these people still think I'm a fucking joke. I need to like win it back. And the fact that like he was validated as a filmmaker made him want to do the entire conventional leading man rotation again to prove them that he wasn't a fuck up. And it was like he's taking all the roles that he kind of blew 10 years earlier. But this is the one that he nails before he gets back post-Batman.
I want to say, we have to talk about the plot, but I just want to say one thing. The idea that Ben Affleck actually shut down production of this film over wearing a Yankees hat is a joke that David Fincher says on the commentary. Yes. It's very clearly a joke.
Yes.
David Fincher is funny.
Yes.
And dryly funny.
Yes.
Yes.
So is Ben Affleck.
Funny. Ben Affleck did indeed say, like, yeah, I pitched a fit over wearing a Yankees cap, and so I don't.
Right.
And like they both tell this is a funny thing that happened during the making of Gone Girl, and it has somehow evolved into like Ben Affleck, famed Boston prima donna.
I mean, I listened to the commentary today.
It was funny though, like when we were watching this, and Bob was like, we were talking about it. It was like, well, why isn't he wearing like a Cardinals cap? And it's like, oh, because he bought it at the airport.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's
There's
sort of the thing.
He doesn't need to wear a Yankees cap. Like it's not important to the movie.
It is important that he wears a New York hat because the idea is that like why isn't he putting on like a, because in the next scene
he didn't travel with a hat.
He opens up and he's wearing like a Cardinals t-shirt.
It's
like
Mets.
It's like he realizes he has to hide his anonymity in some way. So he like goes to a store and buys.
I listened to the commentary today and his delivery is incredibly dry. If you're an idiot, you would perhaps not pick up on the fact that it's a joke. But he does talk about it for like 2 minutes and he really plays out the bit of like, it was 4 days of back and forth with Ben's agent on the phone.
Very unprofessional.
Production shut down. Yeah. It was, deal memos like flying furiously. But yes, it is false.
Affleck had been cast as Batman by the time filming was over. Pike's quote, by the time we were in the shower, I was with Batman. JJ also notes here, he's written a separate line for this. Also, you can see his penis in the movie thumbs up emoji.
Okay. Maybe throw an eggplant in there as well. David?
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard the bad news.
What's up?
Stomp is closing.
Yeah, I think it closed even in the East Village.
Even worse news. I do have some good news though.
You know what replaced it is the Empire strips back.
Yes.
Anyway.
The Star Wars themed burlesque show.
Correct. Yeah.
Anyway, bad news. Stomp is closed. Good news. Stamps is still running.
That's true because Stamps, with so much of our world digitized or automated, why would you stick to old school mailing and shipping when you've got Stamps.com that can do the hard part for you?
In fact, they're pretty different business models. Stamp's business model was bang on some trash cans to the amusement of tourists.
True.
Right. And Stamp's business model is save you time that you would waste in line at the post office by allowing you to print U.S. postage at home. Make shipping easy.
Look, it's a post office in your office.
Yes.
Postage rates just increased again. Stamps.com has the best discounts in the industry.
Yeah.
Amazing partnerships with USPS and UPS for unbeatable rates, up to 84% off. Plus, Stamps.com automatically tells you your cheapest and fastest shipping options.
Let's make this clear. It doesn't have to be a post office in your office.
No.
It can be a post office in your bathroom. This is the thing. Stamps.com sends you the stuff, and then it's up to you.
That's true. All you need is a computer and a printer. They send you the scale. Yeah. You have everything you need to get started.
You could do it on the toilet if you want to.
Okay. If you need a package pickup, you can schedule it through your Stamps.com dashboard. And if you sell products online, they seamlessly connect with every major marketplace and shopping cart.
It's really easy. It's so easy. You could do it and do whatever you need to do in the bathroom at the same time.
Avoid the hassle and get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code CHECK for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code CHECK. Gone Girl came out in October 2014, but I saw it at its world premiere at the New York Film Festival.
Aren't you fancy?
Did you?
I did not. At that point, I was actually working for EW, which was like very exciting because we like had the Gillian Flynn connection. But I, at that point, I was still sort of a baby, and I hadn't,
especially at EW, I suppose.
Yeah, and I didn't really get those invites. I did see it on Yom Kippur with my parents.
Hell yeah!
Great time to see it.
It was released because I had this memory of it like, oh, we didn't go to services, we went to see Gone Girl, and I was like, wait, was it actually? And then I was like, yeah, Yom Kippur was pretty late that year. It was on October 4th.
When did you see it?
I think I saw it opening night, AMC 25 by myself. It was very much a movie where I was like, I want to see this immediately because I don't want this spoiled.
Yeah.
And then I saw it because I saw it at Lincoln Square. I remember gasping at the dick. I remember later hearing that Fincher was at that screening. I know he was at the screening.
Yeah.
Was it at Alice Telly or
no? It was at Lincoln's. It was at the AMC Lincoln Square.
Oh, weird.
And went back and was like, cut 2 seconds out. Like he had watched it and been like, a couple scenes that felt a little long, and they cut like a few seconds out of the movie.
A couple inches off the dick too.
No,
right?
no, are you kidding me? I mean, yeah, they did. Yeah, they brought it down to 10.
Yeah.
Listen to Doughboys also if you just want another 45-minute exegesis on
month
this
10
penis.
of litigation as to whether his dick is big or massive.
Right. And then I saw it again with my roommate Molly.
Yeah,
because I was just like, you gotta see this thing. It is a blast.
I'll say that. And seeing this with like a Times Square crowd opening night, it was one of those things where it's just like he's got us in his fucking hands. The crowd is just like riding the roller coaster with him.
There's some twists. There's some turns.
Yes.
I remember very clearly Molly's face looking at me after she slashes MPH's throat.
Yeah.
Just because it's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. That moment, I remember distinctly thinking to myself, so she's winning the Oscar.
Sure.
How could anyone beat this?
Who beat her?
It's someone kind of uninteresting, I want to say.
How dare you say that about Julianne Moore in Still Alice?
You know what? I do think that is an exceptional performance in a movie that I like.
You're a bigger Still Alice fan than most.
I am. Yes, I am. I actually think that movie is pretty good, but it was such a late entry.
Yeah,
in a year where the other contenders were really interesting, and then it was just this Sony Classics play of like, you feel guilty.
Give her the fucking Oscars, you dirty dogs.
Right.
Like, it's just...
It got thrown on the schedule in like October.
I know. It was really irritating.
Who are the other two nominees that year?
Marion Cotillard in 2 Days, 1 Night.
Yeah.
An incredible performance in a great film. And Felicity Jones in The Theory of Everything. she's honestly the lead of that film, and she is good in it, but the least interesting probably of those performances.
Bad movie. Yeah.
Not a very good movie.
Yeah.
I do like Felicity Jones, but obviously, her real peak was yet to come, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Because she's Your Honor.
I'm joking.
I thought you were talking about women don't belong on balloons.
She's really made some
That's
made
where
some
I was
choices.
That's where I thought you were gonna go. It's gonna go like she was in a balloon.
I'm a really good aeronaut. I think she says that at some point.
Yeah.
Gone Girl begins, Griffin, on the 5th anniversary of Nick Dunn and Amy Dunn's marriage.
Him stroking her head, trying to figure out what's going on in her brain.
Saying he wants to crack her skull open and unspool her brains.
Yeah. A great Fincher thing. I mean, we talk about like his shift to digital is so much less about him preferring the look and more about how much more conducive it is for the workflow. And a big part of that is the amount of insane, obsessive digital touch-ups he likes to do on every element of every shot becomes a lot easier if you're shooting digitally. And so I'm watching this with the commentary, and like the first thing he says is, so basically every scene Rosamund Pike is wearing a wig in this movie, and wig technology has not really advanced in the last 100 years. So basically every shot of her required digital touch-up to remove her wig lines.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's like how Fincher's starting the commentary is the shot that starts in the back of her head, her turning around, and he's like, so yeah, that's a digitally removed wig line.
It's so intentional. It's repeated at the end of the film. And the whole point is like, there's a certain way in which we just do not know each other, even when we're married, even when we're in our most intimate, right? You're seeing the same look on her face. You can interpret it a million different ways. So it's just funny. The Fincher's like, this fucking wig line.
Fucking wig line. But I'm also like, and he never explains this, why the fuck did she need to wear wigs?
Well, her hair changes a bunch
lot
in this
over the course of the film.
Sure, I guess for continuity and no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And she kept cutting her own hair, really annoying.
Yes.
Rosamund. She kept having tantrums. No, I think it's probably just that. So that is true. And then the movie actually ends with her missing. It begins with her missing after this little intro.
He drives to the bar.
That's right. You go straight to the bar. You're introduced to Go.
The bar's called The Bar.
The bar is called The Bar.
They should franchise it.
And Nick has a twin sister called Go.
Played by
Margot.
the great Carrie Coon. She's so good in this movie.
She is so good. We were talking about this, Esther, you and I. What was there much Carrie Coon? Like where was she? This is her first film.
I knew her from
Leftovers is the same year.
And I knew her from from the revival of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf,
right?
Which she was in with her husband Tracy Letts,
right.
And I feel like she was mostly doing like
the
Chicago theater.
She was the Steppenwolf gal, for sure,
right.
And she had done tons of theater,
yeah. But this performance kind of like lands her with a lightning bolt.
Yeah,
I mean, this I guess plus Leftovers. She's so good in this goddamn movie.
Yes.
The only
Should
reason
have been nominated.
The only reason she can't get nominated is there's a better female supporting performance, maybe.
In this film from Kim Dickens?
Yeah. Gimme D, who I adore in this film. I mean, I like her generally.
This movie should have had 3 supporting nominations.
Maybe 4?
Who's the 4th?
Tyler Perry.
Tyler's 3.
Tyler's 3.
That's
a lock.
Tenable's a lock.
Locked as hell.
Yes.
I think Neil Patrick Harris is very good in this film.
Good.
I mean, I know there's only 5 slots and it's probably no space, but he's very good.
You keep
very
watching,
well used.
I don't know if this is jumping ahead too much, but you keep watching this movie and thinking like
she's not dead and she faked it. Sorry.
Yeah,
well,
you were thinking that because you were smart and you got it. She didn't trick you for a second.
Thinking that, in addition to Pike and Affleck, there is like just such interesting casting across the board. Like the Tyler Perry, Neil Patrick Harris casting,
Emily Ratajkowski,
Emrata.
Emrata. We could talk about that.
No, all respect to Emrata. I was not talking about her, if I'm being honest. I was talking about mostly like Tyler and Neil Patrick Harris, 2 people who you sort of don't expect to show up in a movie like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
they have very established on-screen brands at that point.
And playing against just like playing these strange characters and being so perfect in it.
The reason I bring up Emrata is that, like, I don't know if you folks remember this, but when the casting announcements were being made for this movie, every time someone new got added, it was like, is he just fucking pulling names out of People magazine?
Right.
Like,
right.
These feel
is this some weird ploy by him to like get the budget up or
odd
whatever?
Choices, but also people who are like very in the zeitgeist
Very
at that moment for
right
one
now.
reason or another. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The other one, Casey Wilson.
Yes.
Love Casey Wilson.
Casey Wilson is so, it's like you just don't expect Casey Wilson to be like in this movie in that role. And she's so good.
Pike, Dickens, like those feel like obvious Fincher casting decisions. And then you're like Affleck, Harris,
say, like,
Perry.
Celia Ward is like so perfectly used or something like that.
Missy Pyle.
Missy Pyle is perfect. Right. Yeah. Scoot McNairy.
Scoot.
Well, this is the period of time where Affleck would bring Scoot along to almost
he wouldn't bring him along. He'd scoot him along. You would hear a chair going, like, who's that? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Man, Carrie. So I'm looking at my ballot. I have Affleck, Pike, Perry, and Dickens. And I'm like, do I need to put Kuhn in here too?
Kuhn is so good in this. Because Dickens, I think, like, I mean, the transformation that she goes from just being sort of like your like fun-loving sister to just like, I'm utterly horrified by you.
I wouldn't call her fun-loving, but she's definitely like, you know, kind of wry and witty.
I think she's like, but she's sort of like his, like they've had this relationship.
Board.
They have like a fun relationship.
So here's my big take from this rewatch. I hadn't seen this movie in a little bit. Okay. And they make the joke later in the film when Affleck's at the airport putting the hat on, the twincest joke, right?
I may have floated this exact
he floated this to me.
What's your version?
No, I want to hear. No, I want to hear
it the same way as I do.
I want to hear yours.
I think crucially, Carrie Coon is playing the cool girl in this movie.
Oh, that's actually that's interesting.
Yeah,
right?
You know, in a way,
like that is the vibe. When you give the cool girl monologue, you realize like what Affleck wants is someone he can talk to like his sister, but fuck. Right?
Right.
And part of the conflict is, and it's this whole thing of everyone trying to...
But she's not, she's the cool girl, but without the sort of fuckability aspect
this
of
is
the
the
cool
thing,
girl.
right.
Like, she's
not that Carrie Coon isn't incredibly beautiful, but she's playing...
But they make her mousy.
They give her those horrible glasses.
Right.
Like, you know.
It feels like a deliberate stylistic choice.
I'm putting her in.
Good. It feels like a deliberate stylistic choice. And I also think it's interesting that like her love life is never even hinted
I was about to say,
in this movie.
That's
right?
sort of... they don't have space for it obviously anyway, but yes, that she's kind of like this appendage of his.
She's also a little queer coded.
She is totally. But you don't make any direct reference to that. She never talks about any kind of ex. Like there's never an offhand joke about anything. And it is this feeling of like, because Amy is this person, everyone
she'll
she
drink
meets,
with him at, at 10 in the morning.
Right.
Which
Amy
is like the
is
first scene of the movie.
Constantly trying to like be crafted by everyone around her of like, God, you look so amazing. If you could also do this, if you could also be this and look like this on top of it, right?
It's a good 5.
And okay, who's your 5 now?
Anne Hathaway in Interstellar, Emily Blunt in Edge of Tomorrow, Kim and Carrie from Gone Girl, and Elizabeth Moss in Listen Up.
Blunt's the lead performance. We disagree on this.
She's like not in most of that movie.
She's in a good chunk of the movie.
Yeah,
she's the female lead of the film.
Yeah, she's the female supporting actor.
She's the female lead of the movie.
All right, well, she wouldn't be a winner in Best Actress. So.
But you give her the win in supporting?
I do.
That's a coward's move.
It's not. She's the supporting actor.
Who do you give the win in actress?
Marianne Cotillard. Incredible performance. And that's a great 5. Gugu Mbatha Raw in Beyond the Lights.
Well, yeah, that's
Pike
my winner. Yeah.
In Gone Girl, Cotillard, Essie Davis in The Babadook, and Reese and Wild. And I fucking love Reese and Wild.
Yeah.
Like
she's Davis Babadook's that same year too. That's wild. Yeah, that's wild.
And then, where's the Babadook at? I don't know. He signed a 4-picture deal and then he never made anything.
My point I was making is that yes, like not just that she's drinking with him at 10 o'clock in the morning, right? Not just that she can like hang and play a board game with him and be casual and cool, but like their dialogue being like so rat-a-tat back and forth.
Yeah, slap him with your penis, like it's also kind of like transgressive.
But mirrored with when you see the diary entry of the meet cute between Nick and Amy, where they similarly have this like Gatling gun, clever, really like cynical sort of back and forth. It's like, that's what turns him on. And if he could find someone who fits his physical ideal of what he finds sexually attractive and behaviorally she matches
this is a great tip.
And anytime they talk about the tension between the two of them, between Margot and Amy, it does feel like it's like the unspoken part of this must be that Amy resents that Margot is naturally what she has to work to try to be for him.
That was my take was, does Affleck have better chemistry with Kuhn in this movie
of course.
than with Pike?
I mean, yeah, and you had mentioned the moment where she throws the gummy bear in his mouth and he catches it as like...
Yes.
That's kind of close to
But
like
I think
sexual.
Amy knows that is like, he wants a version of Margot that he can fuck and that he wants to fuck.
Well, I mean... they're really the scrimshaw joke. I'm in there, meet cute, very funny.
Yeah.
What does she say? She's a minor feudal lord or something, the warlord or something like that. That whole thing's very cute.
What's the
She's
term
got a
Fincher
stripy
used?
top that feels right out of fucking 2005 or whatever.
I think he called it studied effervescence.
Oh, that's clever. That's the thing. I think Pike sometimes bothers me because it's such a studied performance down to the accent.
Mm-hmm.
But like it works so well for Amy, where you're like, Amy's kind of full of shit. Like,
right.
Like, who is the real Amy? We don't know, because she's always kind of doing a bit of a performance.
Well, and like this part of the movie, when we're seeing her diary entries like played out on the screen, it's feels
her
like
version of it, right?
Of course, and Fincher's filmmaking feels a little disingenuous, right? It feels a little like sarcastic. The score, like during the romantic sections,
oh, it's so good,
feels cynical.
The sugar storm,
Which first time seeing this, I trust Fincher, not knowing the twist of the book, but I'm like, there has to be a reason these scenes all feel so odd.
I mean, I don't know if I go so far as odd, but I know what you mean in terms of like a little too cute.
Yes,
for him. I've seen this movie so many times.
Yeah, they are so precious in the sequences where, even the proposal. It was funny because I've seen this movie so many times, but as I said, I have
both
watched
having the sheets, that scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Them fucking in the library where it's sort of like, it's like, oh yeah, like we both want to fuck each other at this exact moment.
Mid-cunnilingus.
Yes.
To say he really likes her or whatever.
It's funny
she pauses him to say.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Which is a kind thing to do.
I think you're right.
Both sides of it. Two kind things happening.
DJ Khaled changes the channel.
No, it is funny
guy pussy in this movie. I'm out. Sorry, what?
Shit should be rated X.
I hadn't watched the beginning in a while. I've watched this movie so many times.
Yeah.
And because of having cable, I put it on, and there's something so like unnerving about the cut to blacks in the movie that like he literally fades in and out.
Yes,
like you are going, they're like beats of black in between these, which make them feel very much like you're seeing memory in a way. You don't know, this is not pure flashback. This is some sort of memory, but at the beginning, you're not sure whose or what we're seeing.
There's a forced disconnect, as you said, like the sort of black in between these fade-ins, fade-outs they linger like a second too long.
Yeah, it's like, it's not typical where it's sort of, they flow into, it's like it is a pause.
Yes.
And that it's her diary, but there's something off about it. There's a deliberate falseness.
They feel very written.
Yeah.
And the sequences feel a little like, you hear so much about Fincher developing these projects and being like, cut that line out. That's too cute. You don't need to say that. I don't want to hit the emotion that hard. Button is dinged for being a movie that like avoids all of these scenes where like the cuteness of the early Nick and Amy stuff, you're like, if he actually wanted to sell this being romantic, this is not how he would do it. So the style of this is dictated by this is the story that she's telling, which is kind of written
which is a little
an airport romance novel.
And it's a little too good. Much like Kim Dickens' later, like too much evidence in this house. Right. Like it's like this is too easy. What's wrong with this picture? We haven't mentioned Patrick Fugit, of course, as well. I think he's good in this movie, but it's also just really nice to see him.
Yeah.
Just really nice to see him.
This and We Bought a Zoo, I was like, is Fugit coming back?
Well, those movies are 3 years apart, so that's a slow comeback.
I was holding tight for those 3 years.
That's not exactly a sort of like barreling down with momentum.
I held my breath.
I think both of those are movies where you're like, Patrick,
just nice to see you. Pop up and shit all the time. I feel like he did a Star show for like 3 seasons or something. And now he's disappeared again?
No, he was in Love and Death.
Outcast and then Love and Death, right?
Yeah, which is the
Elizabeth Olsen HBO True Crime.
Completely forgot that happened.
How could you forget?
Another example of the thing we were talking about earlier.
So Nick, his wife's missing. He goes back home. He goes off to think about his marriage and goes to the bar and all that.
Right.
Comes back home. There's been a break-in, right? Where's his wife? And then in comes Kimmy. Dickens and Patrick Fugit, and they're just looking around. She's putting Post-its everywhere. I really like that.
Yes.
And it feels like I feel like the second Post-it you notice, you see like a tiny speck. Yeah.
And it's so goddamn gripping. We learn about Amazing Amy. We learned about her mean parents. I think the book has a lot more of her parents in my memory.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot more about
and it has his parents much more too, and his mom's a part of the book.
Yeah,
like there's flashbacks to his dying mom and stuff.
And I think there's also more about like Amazing Amy too. The children's books that are
say it. Amazing Amy sucks. I would never buy Amazing Amy books.
You have the Blu-ray?
I do. Yes, I have that. Yes.
Amazing Amy Tattletale.
Yes, which is very funny.
And it's like a full
it's a full kids book.
It's 30 pages.
It's a little arch.
It's arch, and it's very much like they wrote an Amazing Amy that mirrors the movie.
I don't know if
that's about
Jr.
her
would
covering
enjoy it.
A crime, basically.
But it's like, I'm supposed to read some book about like a girl who's really good at everything? Sounds lame. I want a book about like a dinosaur who wears pants or something.
Yeah, that's what David, I'm saying. David, have you pitched that to anyone?
Shit. My phone is buzzing.
Tyrannosaurus slacks. And it's SLAX.
Yeah, I'm not going to steal that. I'm just writing something else down.
David?
What's up? Do you guys think Amazing Amy sounds good?
No, I was thinking reading this of like, this is a funny artifact, but I don't think any kid would like this.
It's just funny, Kim Dickens is like, I love Amazing Amy.
We want like our children's heroes to be little stinkers.
You like Eloise. Eloise fucks with shit.
Ramona.
Eloise is the perfect example that I think they have an Eloise. Well, the whole point is Eloise is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right? These are our heroines. Yeah. Punky Brewster. She wears 2 different shoes. I realize she's a TV character.
She's crazy. Let's be very clear.
She's actually out of control.
She is out. Her behavior is outrageous.
To be brought to heel. I love the first the whole true, like this movie obviously is like in the true crime world, even though it's about a fake true crime, right? But it's about the kind of true crime people would become obsessed with.
Mm-hmm.
It feels also very, in some ways, prescient of like
Fincher prescient?
No, I know.
No, you're totally right. Yeah. But it's like it's so on the money, even though like the Missy Pyle sort of Nancy Grace, like those are kind of artifacts. Those are more 90s characters. Obviously, these are from the book.
But the medium changes. I mean, it's like the style of it changes. 100%. But the
if it was made now, the Missy Pyle character would be like a fun fucking podcast.
She's fucking podcast. But that first interview Dickens does with Affleck, where it's like very informal.
Yes.
And she's just like, what's your wife's blood type? And he's like, I don't know. And she's kind of giving him shit for it. Feels like the first chapter of a podcast.
Yes.
About this shit where it's like, he was sort of off from the beginning. And then he leaves and Patrick is like, should I know my wife's blood type? And she's like, no one knows of blood types.
Yeah.
I don't know my blood type.
I don't know my blood type.
100%. Yeah. Do you know your blood type?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's like what makes her a good fucking detective is she asks the question and it's like
she's putting him off
defensive
balance. Right.
You get about that.
Right.
Tells you more than whether or not you actually know the blood type.
Why I love this performance, I've already sort of said I love it, but like, every line reading feels so authentic. This should be taught in line reading school. That's a school, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, like she just feels like a very competent, practical investigator of crime, but she seems even better at trying to understand his personality, and people's personalities, right? Like, if this is the guy, like, should I be, how much is he lying to me? Like, as a human lie detector, she seems really good.
And the Affleck question of like, is this guy guilty or do I just kind of not like him? Right? This is what I think.
The eternal, yeah.
This is the thing that I don't think is the same if it's John Hamm. Because like Mad Men is a show that runs for years based off of this guy behaving poorly. And you're like, why do I still kind of like him?
Well, yes, but the other thing with Don Draper, and I'm deep in my Mad Men rewatches, is he is unknowable.
Yes.
And like, then of course, once a season, he'll like, go like, the farm. And you're like, oh, Don, I love you again. I'm so sorry I was ever mad at you. But he's, still waters run so deep.
In the same way as the Rosamund versus Reese thing, like Hamm would be affecting a thing that just exists on the surface of Affleck.
But in Fincher's hands, you never know. That's my whole performance. Thing. He'd probably be good.
Yeah.
Affleck's so incredible. Perfect balance of like tired, frustrated.
Yes.
Kind of nonchalant. Clearly is still kind of like, I mean, what could be wrong, right?
Well, and there's also like, I mean, there's
and
that
Margot's
moment where
Amy's so dramatic. Like this is some fucking
But there's
bullshit.
also this moment, like it's like when they do the press conference, she's like, Margot's like, look like you don't like you hadn't, like you've been up all night, like you haven't slept,
right?
Even though he clearly like fell asleep.
This
it was like that probably is
everyone knows complicated is code for bitch,
right?
Yeah.
This way in which he's an idiot, where he just like doesn't. It takes him so long, so much of the running time of the movie to start thinking about the way things he does read.
Right. He has that first press conference with her parents where he comes off like a doofus.
Yes.
And they take and he smiles because he can't help himself. He just thinks that's what he should do.
Well, someone yells at him, smile, and he's just like, and he smiles, and he's like, and then and he realizes instantly what a stupid fucking thing that was.
Well, and his attitude is like, I know I'm innocent, so I'll be fine because
I'm not going to get a
innocent.
lawyer. Like,
and he's not considering that he's been gone girled.
Right.
Like, even as clearly he understands that Amy is a complicated individual.
Yeah.
But he only, by the time he starts getting the riddles from her.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is some weird game. Does he start to think like, is this like a Gone Girl situation?
To be fair, she didn't give him the tip off the way that Bob's ex-girlfriend did. Like, I don't think there was a dinner where Amy said, just so you know, I'm thinking someday I might Gone Girl you. And he was like, what does that mean? I have no frame of reference. That has not been turned into a verb yet. David?
Yes.
This episode is once again brought to you by Mubi.
Mubi!
It's a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from around the globe. From iconic directors to emerging auteurs, there is always something new to discover. And with Mubi, each and every film is hand-selected so you can explore the best of cinema, streaming anytime, anywhere.
Yes. Now, they do have a very exciting new film that's streaming on Mubi.
It's a Mubi release.
Globally.
Yes.
Rotting in the Sun, the new Sebastian Silva movie, which is wild.
Yes.
And I do recommend to anyone who just wants to have a crazy time. But of course, Mubi has lots of other stuff.
Jordan Firstman, the great actor, writer, filmmaker, comedy person, collaborated on this with Sebastian Silva, and they're playing like semi-autobiographical, parodical. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, and there's lots of dicks.
Okay, well,
they just put up a bunch of Yasuzo Masamura movies. We were just talking about that with the Doughboys, with Nick Weiger.
Giants and Toys, which is a very griff movie. I would highly recommend to people.
Gonna check that out. But yeah, then they have a lot of movie exclusives like Decision to Leave.
Passages is about to hit, the great Irish Sax film, which we plugged in a previous.
You like Passages, right?
I love Passages. You fucking kidding me?
I love
Passages. Indignation, the James Seamus film.
Great movie.
Friend of the podcast.
Yeah, really good movie.
A really good movie.
Look, for a limited time, you can try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/blankcheck. That's mubi.com/blankcheck for a month of great cinema for free. So, Mubi, check it out.
Just always a smart move.
Always a smart move.
Perfect.
Mubi.com/blankcheck.
Mubi.
I've got them, and then we have flashbacks to bad times in their,
and
the
recession.
recession.
Much a recession.
His
movie.
Xbox addiction, crippling.
The detail of I feel like there's a hard cut. There's a really funny cut that maybe goes from the scene where they're on like sort of the daybed in the Brooklyn brownstone that she bought with her trust fund from the book.
Right. We learn, of course, that her parents kind of raided the trust fund as well.
And then she handed over more money to them.
Right.
And like, what are we going to do? And he starts to like flip out about like our lifestyle, and then sort of says, his version of like, as long as we're together, I'm happy. We can make whatever work. And then I think there's the hard cut to him on the couch, surrounded by light beer and Chinese takeout, playing Xbox. Like this guy's
Natty Light.
entire,
It's specifically Natty Light.
and he even calls out in that
Or Natty
conversation.
Ice.
If you're drinking Natty Ice,
it's not good.
Tough situation.
Yeah, you're not doing good.
And you're not 19 years old. To be clear. If you're 19 years old, you're doing great.
I feel like Natty Ice is also
funnel a beer for me. Yeah.
I feel like Natty Ice is also his beer in the way back. Like that might be an Affleck detail.
No,
yeah. Oh, wait, fuck. What is his beer in the way back?
Sorry, the thing in the way back that is so haunting.
The shower beers?
Well, no, the freezer.
Oh,
he
yes.
takes one out of the fridge.
Yes.
Puts it in, like,
he takes them out of to the freezer for a little extra.
And then as soon as he takes it out of the freezer, he puts another one in.
Yeah.
And it is haunting.
I think it might be a fake.
It's so
beer.
real.
My guess is that no real beer company wants to be associated with movies about people who drink beers in the shower.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah, but the freezer thing in the way back is so haunting.
Great.
Like it is so haunting.
That
I think
rolls.
it's cool.
I think it's cool and good. Right. It's what I started doing.
It's like great tip. I watched this movie about drinking. It was just like how to drink.
Thanks, Ben. Just even in that scene where she tells him about the money, he calls out like, so what? You hand them the money. You know, like the state of media. I lose my job. You lose your job. Like he's like presaging like this whole thing might fall apart very quickly.
And she is sort of like, well, it's their money.
Yes.
Which is sort of like technically true. They wrote the books. But also, there's this kind of undercurrent of like, but it's sort of me.
It's like reparations
they made
money.
Me, right. They made me into this creature. This like
you're kind of owed this money
girl.
Because of the psychological damage this is going to cause for the entirety of your life.
Like obviously suck. Like they're so annoying.
They
very well
ass.
cast, whoever they are. At least Lisa Baines and some other guy.
Lisa Baines, actually.
David Clennon.
He's from The Thing.
Yeah, he's
David Clennon.
Lisa Baines tragically died recently.
Oh,
really?
God, I'm so sorry, Lisa Baines.
No.
She died 2 years ago.
It was the famous thing. She was she was hit by a scooter
on the Upper West Side.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yes.
And he was like sentenced to prison because he like ran a light.
Yeah, it was a hit and run. She was crossing the street. She was like working at Juilliard and she was like crossing the street.
Well, she's very good in this film playing a waspy person who kind of sucks. And says like, this place smells like feces of
Fincher
Missouri.
said she was cast because of that line reading.
Yeah.
She did that scene in her audition.
She crushes it.
And he said the way she delivered that line, I wanted that in my movie.
Now, you have Kathleen Rose Perkins showing up as the lady who takes a selfie with him, and he's like, hey, wait, delete that. Yeah. She's really funny. 45 minutes in, he goes home. Emrata is there. Really good twist.
Well, he has the text
from
the unlisted number that says, I'm outside, and he's like looking around as if someone's going to attack him. And at this point, if you haven't read the book, you're watching the movie for the first time, I'm like, is this the moment that you find out he's guilty? And here's a conspirator who's going to come and under like the cover of night.
It's important to remember how on our seat, on the edge of our seats we were. Yeah. And then it's her, and you're like,
it's funny because
he is a piece of shit. But then you're right back to like, but does that mean he killed her? Right? Which is the whole tension of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're like, that's why he seems guilty, because he does suck, but he's not a murderer.
And there is there's rumors that Affleck demanded her casting, right? Which I think are maybe made up. People love to make up rumors about Ben Affleck.
Fincher at least credits him with suggesting her. I will say that.
And there is the undeniable tension of Affleck clearly as someone who has perhaps strayed outside of his marriage and life. Who knows? And certainly, like the scene that always gets me is when he says like she's a really good person, like way later.
Yes.
And you're like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, stop trying to justify sleeping with a student. It's so lame.
When he says early 20s and Margot just says, so she's 20. At some later point, right? Yeah.
Really good line.
It's like, I know exactly what you're saying, you fucking asshole.
I want everyone to answer this question.
Yeah.
Does he deserve to get Gone Girled simply for the fact that he dated Emrata? That, cheated on his wife with her.
Yeah.
Like, it's like one thing. Like, he's cheating on her with another person their age, like a peer.
I mean, no.
He fell in love.
Such a piece of shit.
He did the deplorable, basic ass thing of like, no, I'm sleeping with a student who's like half my age.
Right.
Does he deserve to get
great exchange where she says like, Jesus Christ, I thought writers hated cliches. And he goes, I'm not a writer anymore. And she goes like, is this about you fucking losing your job?
Right.
It's such a like obvious crisis move. But this is also where I think the erotic casting.
He fucks her in Go's
His
house.
wife is missing.
His wife is missing.
He has sex with his mistress.
Sister's house.
That's the moment. Right.
And they have sex and you're just like, stop it, you dumb dummy.
I think he retroactively deserves to be Gone Girl the moment he fucks her after.
You think that's
she's
actually
gone?
Ben, do you think he deserves to be Gone Girl? All right. You're right. You're probably right.
The thing Fincher said,
even though he bought her a disposable phone to text him on,
and he buys her all gifts in cash.
I'm really struggling here and how to be careful answering these questions.
You're right. He probably doesn't get framed for murder.
Should anyone be Gone Girl? Of course, it's the great moral question of our time. I like treating being Gone Girl like it's the death penalty. Like that should that even be a recourse?
Then of course we see scenes. Okay, you have a thing to say?
I do.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I do in fact have a thing to say.
Okay. No. Okay.
In the commentary, he's talking. He says, "I didn't know who to cast for this part," and Affleck goes like, "Well, you should watch this music video. This is who we should get." But there is some
text from Affleck, blurred lines.
Yeah. I just think it's really interesting.
She seems the lines get blurred.
Yeah, and she seems to have like a good command of herself on camera.
I mean, look, she's fine in the
dialogue
movie.
here.
She's
I think she's quite good in the film.
Yeah, she's
also I like her.
But the meta casting of it being like at the moment this film is being made, she's sort of the obvious like, oh, that's like the girl from the poster. That's the guy that every young dude is using as shorthand for like, I'd give my left nut to fuck Emerada.
Kate Upton or whatever.
Yeah,
the most sort of the hottest model of the year
the
or whatever.
obvious shorthand person. And Fincher said, and this shows like it's why this movie plays so well, but like he is so smart psychologically understanding the way the audience as a group is going to respond to things. And he said that casting had to be someone who just cut through the audience a straight line like a saber. Because every woman in the audience, when she's the reveal of who shows up, is like, going to go,
ew,
fuck
disgusting.
You.
Right. I can't believe this. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a cliche.
And
every guy is going to lean forward and stroke their chin and go, this is a dumb move, but I kind of get.
I understand.
Someone
Fincher's,
like that would be in Missouri. I mean, geez, like,
but
it's
that thing of
the country.
Like,
I mean, but someone looked like
I think most, not to be crass, but like most guys in the audience are just going like, oh boy, okay, don't fuck her now. Don't fuck her on Margot's couch when you're already under suspicion. And then she takes her top off and you're like, I don't know if I could resist. I actually don't know if in that moment, I don't want to admit to my weakness.
No, Fincher, of course, is right. His ultimate diagnosis is we're all like perverts and liars, right? And he's like, yeah, you would all, you don't think you're better than him or a little bit. Yes,
right, it's easy to say you wouldn't. Yes.
I still probably would. I think I'd be really stressed out in that moment.
I'd be so stressed out.
I'd be just a little stressed out.
In the next realm.
Yeah, their relationship I don't want to touch. Like God knows they've heard a lot of things. But like I don't know about
that. The following morning,
his wife is missing.
The following morning, he like ushers her out, and Affleck has this great like millisecond moment of like, I fucking did it. I nailed it.
Yeah,
I actually
No one's outside. No one's seeing
it off, and then the camera swings over. You see Margot in the background just being, you fucking colossal piece of shit. I've been like defending
just because he's a regular piece of shit, though, doesn't mean he's a murderous piece of shit. But we're cutting right from that to the next entries in her diary, in Amy's diary, which are suddenly lurid. It's him pushing her against the banister. It's her going to the weird abandoned mall filled with like vagrants and criminals where she buys a gun.
Yes,
and you're watching this and you're like, okay, like I guess, but you're also you're kind of like, this feels neat.
Right.
This feels kind of invented, which it is, And
my read on it, by the way.
But you're also more likely to believe it because you've just seen him fuck Emerald.
You are definitely not like, this guy's innocent as hell.
My read is that the staircase fight happens and her embellishment is the push.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It feels very clear that
their marriage is not happy.
Like, but I also think the specifics of that fight, there's something to like, the dynamics are so interesting where he's like, playing the game of like, I'm going out with friends. It's going to be so boring. You don't want to come, like you could if you wanted to. He's giving himself the brownie points for like being considerate and asking about her day. I think he's leaving to go fuck Emrata, right? Like that's why he's trying to throw her off.
He's But
and he's like really trying to play the like good guy. And the second she needles him like an inch, he's doing the like, we're really going to fight about this now? And she's like, I'm not fighting. I asked you a question. And he's like, I don't have time for this. He's so worked up. The shit he says about the baby is so out of line. Where she's just like, I could use this right now. I need something to give me some sense of identity. And his response is, having a baby isn't a hobby. He's so inconsiderate to the fact that it's just like, right, she has no sense of self anymore.
No, and I love that their house, while like technically nice, it has many rooms.
Yes.
It has like amenities. They sure do. Is like clearly this kind of like soulless McMansion-y like thing that has no character whatsoever to it.
They moved there for his mom.
Right.
His mom still died.
Right.
when Kim Dickens asks if she has any friends. But
his dad is like suffering, so they haven't left, and obviously the recession.
Right. His dad's in a home, but has like seemingly late stage dementia.
Right.
His dad, who Margot says also cheated on their mom a bunch.
She says, "You're just like dad." Yes.
Right. But when Kim Dickens asks if she has any friends, he's like, "Well, she was very close with my mom."
Sounds cool.
Yeah. And then that person died.
We should be you're right. We should be sympathetic to Amy.
And throughout all
Except
of this,
that she gargled him.
Casey Wilson is coming up being like,
I'm her friend.
Yeah. I'm her friend.
What does he call it? Befriend a local idiot? What is her line?
I think it's like befriend a local idiot.
It's so masterful in where it like swings the audience allegiance. And that's one of those things where you're like really starting to feel bad for the sadness of her life.
Right.
And then when she immediately reveals, like, I fucking worked this dumb lady next door for my own advantage, you're like, so you're kind of an asshole too. Like, it's the beauty of this movie is just like,
she definitely
they
thinks
do deserve each other in
she
this
thinks
way.
She's better than everybody.
Yes.
Or has some...
It's not just a projection.
Right. She's amazing Amy.
She is amazing.
Another Kim Dickens scene I love right after all this is when she's with Fugit and he's like, why haven't we arrested him? She's like, I'm conducting an investigation. And he's like, do you have like a crush? And she's like, don't ever talk to me that way again. Like very quietly, not in an angry way.
Yes.
But she has total control the whole time until the end of the movie, you know, when, you know, she knows something is up, but there's nothing she can do anymore. Then we have the candlelight vigil, Casey Wilson yelling at him. And then...
saying that she's pregnant.
Saying that, did you know she was pregnant? Then we have Kim Dickens being like, let me walk you through your house. Blood here. Like, you know, you seemingly unaware of all this, but like, you know, the lab test results came back. She was pregnant. Like, well, you know.
He's also, at this point, already started to become like a media object.
Right. The TV's obsessed
because
with
of the selfie with the Frito pie lady. So when he does the speech at the candlelight vigil, it's the first time where he's like, I actually need to sell this. I need to perform this. And he's doing an okay job until Casey Wilson calls him out. And now it's like, he's completely lost control of the narrative. The whole thing's spinning out of control. And Kim Dickens is presenting to him, by the way, here's how neatly like, so much of this lines up.
All her blood is here. All, you know, and like, and that whole line she has about like kidnapping makes us think about people outside the house. Murder, you know, blood inside the house. She finds the mallet in the furnace.
Yes.
He finds the
fire
shed.
Doesn't get rid of blood.
Right. He finds the shed with the gifts in it.
We haven't even mentioned the whole birthday scavenger hunt clue thing, which
is how this is all unfolding.
Resents. Right? Like everyone talks about like this annoying thing I have to do every fucking year. That to most people feels like the thing that like couples do on Instagram where you're like, get the fuck over it. This is like so work obnoxious. You're doing to look charming to everyone else.
To be fair, Esther and Bob do a massive treasure hunt across the 5 boroughs every year. So, you know, we shouldn't be.
They're madly in love and they're going to gone girl each other.
But just the you're feeling like, oh God, this I can't keep track of all of this now. Like I'm starting to lose like focus on whether he's guilty or not or what all the evidence says. He opens the shed, black. Cut to Amy.
Boom. 1 hour in.
1 hour in.
Yeah.
Emrata comes in around 45 minutes. Amy is an hour and 5. Yeah.
Fincher said the hardest part of making this movie in many ways was like going to Fox and being like, the marketing of this film in every way has to be centered only around the first 45 minutes.
Only around where is she? Right. She's gone, girl.
Right.
You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yes.
Girl.
He said the only shot that he allowed to be included in any of the press past the 45-minute mark.
Close up on Neil Patrick Harris's bloody penis.
Of course.
That would be funny. He's like, you can use this shot?
Yeah.
You know what? You don't want to?
You don't want to?
It's from late in the film.
I could make it for a good one sheet. Character poster.
What did he allow?
The imagined shot of her dead body underwater.
Yes, which is crucial to the trailer.
And when that shot's in the trailer, you're like, are they spoiling the movie? But he's like, I want the audience to go in thinking that there is, in fact, a dead body. So the question becomes, did this guy kill her or not? So that the deflection is, you have been thinking about, is she possibly still alive? And then the fact that the introduction is, my life's gotten so much better since I died.
I mean, and also it's just that movement to the shed.
Yeah.
You know, him realizing it, the score going like, wild. Reznor and Ross just sort of wiling out.
Yeah.
And then that cut. I mean, I don't know. It's funny because I had read the book. So I was coming into it with less with like just such this anticipation of how did they going
because the book has
this?
The same concept of like
it's his
and
it's
part
his
2.
diary.
Right,
yeah. Well, it's like it's his narration,
then her diary,
his, and then and then
here's Amy for real.
Amy for real.
No, cut to her in the car is the moment where I'm like hoot and holler, and I'm like, okay, I know why Fincher did this movie. I'm locked in. I don't know where this is going, but I get why this is more than just what I thought this film was from the log line.
And she first has her little monologue on, how she did it, and things like, befriend a pregnant idiot, ply her with lemonade, steal her urine, things like that. But then right after that is the cool girl monologue. It bleeds into motive, right? First, it's like, here's why I did it.
Out of the window.
Here's how I did it. And then here's why I did it.
Yeah.
Right.
He said the main reason he cast Casey Wilson is that like most of her performance is in this sort of montage stuff.
Right.
And they weren't going to write dialogue scenes and Casey Wilson could improvise them.
Right.
And he would like roll for 30 minutes on the two of them having girl talk. And he was just like, even if it's silent.
Give me the B-roll. I want to see that.
He's like, the body language of what they're doing, she sold so well. And I knew she could like basically generate the material.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. Just Rosamund and Casey.
Yes.
Girl talking. They're pretty different. Like, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see how those two interact.
The thing he called out was like, they'd have these conversations where like Casey is really dialed in comedically and Rosamund's getting very emotional and like breaks down and starts crying. And Casey Wilson would punctuate it by like repouring the wine glass.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
She can only drink lemonade though. She's pregnant.
That's true.
Cool girl monologue. This is very crucial to the culture. I know it's in the book.
It's in the book. I have to say, rewatching, I'm at a point that I wanted to make, which is that so much followed in this footsteps. And there was so much hullabaloo about the cool girl monologue and just sort of about this like 2014 feminism. And the cool girl monologue is so fascinating because it's written, it does have this element of truth, but it's also obviously written from the perspective of a crazy person.
Yes. Which is amazing.
But so many people took this as sort of
this is worth
gospel.
Pointing out.
Yeah.
Sure. I also think it is sort of about a type that's a little dated at this point. But, at the moment it felt more relevant.
In the moment it felt very relevant. I mean, honestly, Rada felt like a very, her at that time. And honestly, like, as she has gone on since then, has very much combated that too.
They're like, I'm one of the boys, but also I'm
it's
this
like, I'm also,
beautiful sex object.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm posting pictures of myself topless all the time, but I'm also, it felt both revelatory at the time, but I think it's like so important to remember context.
But I do think there's something to her woundedness of like, I did fucking everything right. I was the best.
But I think the other thing,
and then he fucking throws me over for some like younger model. Like, how dare he? Like,
I think bouncier.
Right. Yeah.
But I think the other thing that is, it's going to sound weird because it's so fucked up, but like, since then, there have been so many sort of attempts at like sort of subversive feminist work that this like, that feels trying to speak to a specific moment.
What are you thinking of? Drag them.
Like, honestly, like, I am a defender of this movie, but like Promising Young Woman, like, I am somebody who likes that movie.
Both her movies have come up on this podcast?
Yeah. David's making a face that I won't describe.
That makes it sound I'm making a grimace.
I did.
So he's making more of a hamburger.
What did you say?
A hamburger face.
David says his grimace next to a hamburger. Probably the best joke I've made in 15 years.
Get out of here. You're kidding me? You do 2 of those a week.
But what I was going to say was like, even in its fucked upness, it's sort of like, it feels like Gone Girl sort of latched on to was sort of organically spoke to a moment rather than latching on to a moment, and therefore feels sort of timeless in its commentary on like men and women dynamics and, you know, the sort of cool girl feminism of the time. And it felt, it doesn't feel dated in a way that I think, other stuff has.
I agree. I mean, I also have to defend Promising Young Woman. David's now making a Ronald McDonald face. And
Mayor McCheese. Please.
Okay, Mayor McCheese. I'm sorry, it's the funnier version. But I think that is a movie that, like, on a pretty fundamental level, does not really have a clarity in what it is saying or what its worldview is. It often does things that are, like, working against itself. Whereas I think the Cool Girl monologue is, like, was taken by a lot of people at the time because it was such a good, entertaining summation of a thing that had not necessarily been totally crystallized.
It's kind of a rallying call,
right?
Inadvertently, yes.
But it is like means to an end for the larger thing that I think this movie is about. And even Rosamund Pike calls it out later in the movie more directly, but it's given less attention here, which is just like dating is this like weird form of theater. Like relationship is a form of theater.
Right.
And the most extreme part of that is that like when people meet each other, they present the absolute best version of themselves. There is this like trickery in flirtation, in seduction, in like meet cutes of just like, well, you choose when to dole out what information about yourself, show what sides when people get deep enough into the foxhole with you that those things are no longer like turnoffs, right?
Right.
And the Cool Girl thing is a version of that. And the movie presents that as like part of a larger societal pressure towards women. But there's also the thing that they call out about like Nick was presenting a like impossibly charming version of himself that he could not maintain. And like when he's tired, he's not that charming. And eventually she has to spend time around tired Nick, you know?
Right.
Sure, that's dating too.
That's what I'm saying.
You're presenting your
but that's
best
what I'm
version.
saying. I'm saying that's the bigger point this movie is making is that like you date someone based on the best version you meet or the version that you fall in love with. And then over time, those layers start to go away. And it's like the best relationships are ultimately the ones where when those layers go away, you still like each other. But some people find themselves in these situations where you're like, wait, who am I with? And it creeps up on you over time, over a long period of time.
But like some people might, go to couples therapy.
Sure.
Some people might cheat on their partner.
Some people gone girl their husbands. I don't understand.
That's what I'm
Those
saying.
are three equivalent
Amy's
things.
move is like, what if I gone girl you? And then you say, as you say, she's like, maybe I'll just kill myself to prove a point.
I think 6 of some, half a dozen of the other. I think your therapy gone girling are like.
Okay, here's my question. And I mean, we're trying to understand the mindset of a fictional character who is, as Esther says, a little crazy. But still, does she want the whole time for Nick to, quote unquote, be the man she married again and like win her back, which is what he does?
Yes.
Somewhat inadvertently.
Yeah.
Or is that another escape valve for her when she kind of realizes, like, I actually don't know what to do with myself as a person?
No, I think I think it's an escape valve because I think what happens
because there's a movie about marriage, right?
Well,
it's like a whole satire.
I think the thing is like she never really wants to kill herself.
No,
she never like
she doesn't know what to do with herself.
She doesn't know.
She's the dog who caught the car, right?
Right. She planned it all up to a point. She always has a question mark next to kill herself. It's not. She doesn't feel like that's necessary.
Yeah.
And she starts doubting it when she's in the sort of motel area.
Yes.
She starts sort of to doubt that element of the plan because she's also having too much fun watching him sort of get grilled over the coals. Is that raked over the coals?
Raked, I would say. And
then once she loses all her money, she reaches out to Desi, which she knows is a trap anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Desi is the desperation play.
Desi is the desperation play. And as soon as she gets there, she's like, oh, fuck, I need to get out of this
that
some
moment.
way. And then she's watching the interview and she's like, oh, he's playing my game.
Right.
And that's hot.
My read on it is, I think it's not that she is specifically suicidal, but I think she has no sense of self anymore, right? So it's like, number one thing is she wants to punish Nick. But the second thing is like, she cannot envision what her life is anymore.
Yeah.
Because the key detail of this movie is the book, is the Amazing Amy series, right? It's not just that like her boyfriends have done this to her. It's not just Nick. And, even there's a similarity in how Desi, Scoot, and Nick all talk about her where they're like, I meet this girl, I'm like, she seems unreal.
Right.
Like, how could she possibly be this great, right? There's this presentation of her that is just like impossible.
And then when I can't keep up, it starts to fall apart or whatever. Like they all kind of have this thing of like, I kind of failed her.
Right.
Like,
well, and it's also this thing of like, you know, which I believe if I'm remembering correctly, the book goes into more that like, you know, she was supposed to be this great writer and she's writing quizzes.
Personality quizzes.
You know, she's writing personality quizzes. She was supposed to have more of a career. They
keep telling you have to murder your husband. It's weird.
I give up my cello. I give up the cello. The next book, Amy becomes a cello prodigy.
Yeah.
Like
she's actually something of a failure who has been like, who has kept up appearances. Right. So she hates herself in a certain way.
Absolutely. Thoroughly, deeply.
So
deeply.
Much,
and she doesn't like who she is if she really has to spend time with herself, which she's now forced to do in Missouri, right? She can live through the relationships, through her job, through her friends. But like suddenly all those things have gone away. They've been gone girled out of her life. The fact that she has to like go to press events, right? Like book parties for the anniversary of the book where a table of people want to sit around and ask her about who she is, where it's like, this is her life. Like she's rich off of this, but like she has to do these fucking where is she now kind of things.
It's sad.
That have nothing to do with her present sense of self. They have entirely to do with like this constructed version of her that was a version of her that was a reflection of her never being good enough for her parents. She's amazing. Look how pretty she is. Look how talented she is. But also in the book, she's even better. And you're right. The books sound like they suck. No one would actually read them. But that has to be the thrust of the book of she is the most perfect girl in the world. She always does everything right.
No, it's a great motif, right? It's a great, it's a great device.
So I think she's like, it's the fact that the Post-it note is kill myself with a question mark.
Yeah.
That it's not a clear endpoint that she's like, I guess that's probably what I do because what else would I do at that point?
Right. Because she can't go back to New York. She can't resume her life. Like,
I think when she pigs out, hits her face with a hammer, dyes her hair, reinvents herself in the Ozarks, there's a little bit of like, she's actually kind of stripped everything out of her personality. Right. It's not like she's killing it.
She's still doing a fake accent, but yes.
But for once, she's like not playing the game of trying to impress other people. And I think that's the one where she's like, wait, why would I kill myself? I can just like reset. I can find a new life for myself. This isn't it, but like I can venture out and find something new. When she goes to Desi, she's like, I need more money to continue doing research to figure out what kind of person I want to be.
My project of reinvention, which is my new project. My old project was frame my husband for murder. And now my new project is my next phase.
And then as you said, Esther, seeing him on the TV, doing the interview where he's talking to her.
Right.
Suddenly it's like oh, I'm reconnected with what made us like each other in the first place.
I think that's true, but I do think it's also an escape valve. She is also kind of like, I fundamentally don't know who I want to be because I don't know who I want to be. I have no sense of self.
And she's also, I mean, it's also like the Desi thing is desperation, and she realizes she's in a worse place than she would ever be before because he's also psycho.
And she's a terrifying character, but it's also like, it's why the Cool Girl monologue exists, where it's just like, it's every step of her life has been building her to this point.
Well, it is this weird relatability that she has because which is sort of what you were saying earlier, because everyone has put on a different face to impress somebody.
Yes.
At some point in time.
Right.
I've never have.
No, David, never has. He's
I certainly understand.
Exactly.
Yes, so authentic. No, all right. How many Fincher films have voiceover narration? Obviously, the film Gone Girl does.
Fight Club.
Fight Club has voiceover narration.
Mm-hmm. The Killer.
This is my point. The Killer has voiceover narration. Benjamin Button has voiceover narration.
A diary as well, yeah.
Right, much more sort of, that's the most mundane, I would say, right? That's really like, and then this is
a casual trip down a lazy river.
7 has Morgan Freeman saying, the world is, but he doesn't have much narration apart from that, right?
No.
Okay, so it's really just like, Fight Club. Forget Button for a minute. Let's take Button out of the equation.
I don't think you'd forget me if you met me. I got quite a curious case.
But like Fight Club, Gone Girl, and The Killer are all very unreliable voice. Like the voiceover is ever present.
Yeah.
But you're kind of like, wait, after a while, you're like, wait, the voiceover is full of shit. I didn't realize this was lying to me.
Like, they're also all like funny.
I know you haven't seen The Killer yet, but like you will.
But that's Fincher's fundamental take on dialogue, which I think I've invoked before. Is he says like, I think people use words to lie. Dialogue should not be like revealing truth.
Finchy, come on! No one's the truth though. No, all liars,
like,
perverts and liars.
The truth comes across in the behavior and the actions, but like all dialogue is sort of what Gone Girl is getting at of like you presenting the version of yourself you need to win that moment. Even if it's like 90% true, it's like, how do I sell this?
So sort of great that you get the cool girl monologue and then actually the narration slips away.
Yes.
You know,
then
and then we're just with her.
We're in
but then
hard reality. Yeah.
But then after that, what do we cut to? You know, after some motel business, let me tell you what we cut to. And it's so crucial. Tyler Perry sitting, laughing, being essentially like, what is the matter with you? You know, like, this is the craziest shit I've ever heard. It's so vital for the audience, I think, to be like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, this isn't how people behave.
Tyler Perry is so good.
He's
and so well cast. And it is.
Look, I think Tyler Perry's obviously a talented performer, but he largely plays like either, you know, Medea, who's a little on the colorful side. She's a little over the top.
But I'd say he plays her quite well.
So he certainly knows, he has a handle on that performance, I guess. Like, he does what he's... Halloween. Or I feel like when he's in his own films and he's not playing Medea, he's usually playing kind of a boring character. Like he's playing kind of like a straight man, like kind of...
I'm just like a decent guy.
Right.
He often plays the sort of like, well, I can help you fix the house kind of like...
You're like, why are you even doing this? But I guess, you know, you're such a big name. And
he's not a very nuanced writer.
This is true. And then in this, you're like, he's so insanely like, it's such a natural performance, right? He's so funny. Yeah. He's like so responsive to, like, we're just like, can I get more of this?
Well, like, there are a couple of them. I think he'll pop in every other year or so and do one of these. I think his one scene in Those Who Wish Me Dead is incredible.
It is. That is not a movie I think about often.
Knockout thermostat one scene performance.
But it is. I remember him being pretty good in Don't Look Up. Not that I like care about that movie.
I still
like Tyler Perry bits that much.
He is the best performance in Vice.
Yeah, I mean,
Vice
sucks.
I don't even remember.
He's in Vice, all right. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Who's he in that?
He's Baxter Stockman, my friend.
Very good. Is he good? Is he good?
Okay in that. I mean, that's one where he's like, I did that for my daughter.
Alex Cross.
Well, that's why Fincher cast him in this.
I know. It's just, is he good in that?
I mean, that's something that should. Here's what's frustrating about Alex Cross. I'm always
just kind of like, why didn't that work? Yeah,
right. Well, because he hired Rob Cohen.
Yeah.
Who is like largely a hack,
he's
right?
He's a huge hack, and he's a bad director.
Right. And it was a project largely shepherded by Tyler Perry, who doesn't have the best dramatic instincts, is much better comedy than he is a drama.
Like, why can't I get a Tyler Perry crime thriller every 3 years? You know?
If Gone Girl had come first, and then he was like, I want to take on Alex Cross, I think a better Alex Cross franchise would have gotten constructed around him. Versus the moment Alex Cross happens, it felt almost like this weird vanity ego thing of like Tyler Perry releases 3 hit movies a year, and now he wants to have his own like cop franchise.
Right.
Because that movie was Lionsgate as well.
I can find out.
It felt very much like a Tyler, if you want to do this, by all means, go do this, and then come back and give us 3 more Medea movies.
Well, I mean, there's obviously the Alex Cross books are huge bestsellers. There's a world where they're like, hell yeah, please. Right.
The upside on this is potentially great, and the downside is almost nothing.
I also think he is good in Star Trek, and
he is good in Star Trek.
Will never forget. I saw that movie at the Regal Court Street. The audience going completely ballistic at the sight of him.
Amazing.
Where I was kind of like, this man has more juice than anyone on earth right now. Like, you know, like that. Because no one knew he was in that movie in the Regal Court Street audience. Like, I think I'd heard like, oh, he's a huge Trek fan and wants to do a cameo, like, or something. Anyway, I'll never forget it.
The only other one I haven't seen is Brain on Fire.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, what is Brain on
Chloe
Fire?
Grace Moretz.
When she's in a movie, you know it's good.
A young, capable professional cannot explain her newly erratic behavior. Based on a bestseller.
It was about this person who had encephalitis. It was a memoir. I remember that book. Never saw the movie.
No, that's just the only other instance of what we're talking about of like Tyler Perry just turns in some serious supporting work and something.
He's so good. And this role, obviously, should be almost quasi-villainous in a way. Like, oh, the fucking attorney who takes on the deadly husbands. He's likable immediately. He's like laughing, but he's like, look, I believe you because this is too crazy for you to be making it up.
Right.
But like, you know, and I'm all the way in, and you're just immediately like, I love this guy.
Well, here's what Fincher said.
Go ahead.
One, he said, Tyler Perry is one of the best living actors at listening on screen, which is an interesting thing.
And crucial.
And I don't think I would have picked up on. Like, Fincher clearly just saw that in him, and it certainly pays off like crazy in this film, right?
Right.
But the other thing he said is, like, you read the character in the book, the way the guy is positioned, the way he's framed, the way he's talked about, his reputation, the types of cases he represents, right? Often representing guilty people. The way it reads on paper is you imagine him being more of a like Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross. And he said, if that guy enters with that energy at this point in the film, the audience is going to hate him.
Yes. Hate him, hate Nick for associating with him.
He's going to be so unsavory.
And that's exactly the stereotypical.
Right.
Yeah, that's the easiest way for that character to come across.
It's like what we're talking about, all the sort of like wet paper, a decent good man, sort of boring guy roles that Perry will put in his own films and play himself.
Right.
Are the foundation for him in this, where it's like, there is that weird fundamental, just kind of like gentle decency of Tyler Perry and like the morality of him that comes across. Where Alex Cross, where
don't cross him.
Right. You're never grossed out by this guy.
Yeah.
And it helps that it's like, you know, by reputation, he represents a lot of guilty people. You know, at this point in the movie that Nick is innocent.
Right.
You want him to kind of like be like, we're fighting on the right side here.
Right. And also there is kind of this moment of like, okay, Nick, you need a lawyer. Like, you can't just keep like hanging out with Kim Dickens and being like, yeah. I don't know, what's up? You know, like, you know, which is what he's been doing.
The thing that is astonishing is the authority with which Tyler Perry delivers everything. Such a quiet, like unforced authority in all these scenes where he's like, here's exactly what you need to do. And when he says something, you're like, I absolutely believe this guy. I would follow every instruction he gives me.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. And then the crucial moment later in the film where Affleck's like, I can handle this interview.
I'm zagging.
You're kind of like, these two are now locked in with each other, where he's like, okay, all right, I think, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and it is such a good, like, because I think the thing about Tyler Perry is he's a brand too, like he is a brand too. And so is this character. And you sort of get the idea that like he knows what it's like to sell, you know? And that I think is part of it.
The thing Nick has been missing this whole movie, and the thing Affleck has always struggled with.
Yes.
Tyler Perry has excelled at in his life.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but also just like consistency of message, right? Like consistency of brand.
And selling yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And maybe we should have a Tanner Bolt Daredevil crossover. Tanner Bolt's like defending someone in the inner city, maybe, and Daredevil's there too.
I just want
he's a lawyer,
him doing shit like this.
I do too, but also if this is it, what a thing.
Yeah.
What a thing to later in life be like, by the way, you know, this guy was a mogul and like one of the most successful like comedy, you know, he made movies every year. Yeah. It was a whole other thing. And he just parachuted into this film and crushed it.
It's like, why you wish he had gotten the Oscar nomination though, because it would have been a nice like Dexter Gordon, Mikhail Baryshnikov.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, by the way, right, good job coming in and killing it.
Yeah, even if this isn't your main thing you want to do, you can play with the big boys.
Look, he's great. At this point, we're sort of cutting between him being like, okay, let me meet Margot. Let me go to the houses. Yeah. Let's try and figure this out. And everything unraveling for Amy with Lola and Boyd.
Lola drinking Mountain Dew in a glass full of ice. Just sitting in the lazy boy chair with the bottle and the cup and the ice.
And what I think is probably like, which is a makeup choice to have her have this giant cold sore.
Yes.
Which
Fincher
is so
casting good. The, you know, British American daughter of a musician who went to like 8, you know, of the fanciest schools and barred and all that. and being like, you're gonna make sense as like a real like piece of shit girl,
Someone
like, you know, who robs people in the
older
Ozarks.
Would have auditioned for Amy.
Right. Yeah, sure.
You know?
Sure. And it like totally works.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so fun. I mean, that's the one thing in the commentary where the one person where he's like, this is me casting someone who could not be farther from this character.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I usually don't try to do.
I love that she spits.
That she spits in her Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also,
it's such a weird power move, but it makes sense for the character.
I really do believe her when she's kind of like, by the way, like this could have been worse. Like we're just, you know, hitting you and taking your stuff. Like other people are worse.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, see you later. We really need the money. And I'm sort of there going off and I'm like, I hope they buy some great drugs or whatever it is they're going to do.
In the way that like
really good math.
Them stealing
like
her
a
money
jet ski
like
for no good reason.
alters Amy's course, right?
Yes.
I do think the fact that like, what's Lola's character's name?
Lola's character's name, of course, we all know it as Greta.
This is like the first person in her life who's ever just talked to her like a person. Like there's something to how unimpressed she is that like I think is the thing that like gives her a new lease on life of just like, oh, I can just like sit on a couch with someone and eat junk food and not worry about how I come across.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's like that. This girl immediately pegs Amy as a bitch, and which offends her.
It.
Yeah. And liked it, which offends her and the reason for the spitting, but is also sort of like tantalizing.
Yeah.
But I do think it's like, you know what, Amy, you're really good at like faking everything in this meticulous way where you drew the diary, but you're actually not good at like improv faking it. You're kind of bad at it.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she's done. She has to go to Desi.
Yes.
Neil Patrick Harris, I want to say this about his casting. Fincher said he wanted a Claire Quilty type, and he's like, what's a modern Claire Quilty type? He's watching the Tonys, and he's like, this guy is like Claire Quilty by the way of Sting is how he puts it.
His line in the commentary is, anyone who can make me watch the Tonys is a good performer.
Right, yes, right.
Has to be a pretty compelling.
Fincher,
it was a real Fincher
Support
haymaker.
American theater.
Yeah.
As you said, Alex Cross, not Alex Ross.
No.
Perry.
Alex Cross Perry
was the
Should
reason.
we make Alex Cross Perry a series in which Alex Ross Perry
watches all the Alex Cross movies? I mean,
no, I mean make it like a film series.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
The thing I like about Tyler Perry is just like, if I knew who David Fincher really was in his body of work, I probably would have said no.
I would have been too.
Like I actually wasn't that familiar with his movies. And my agent did know and probably knew that I would have said no. But instead, clearly the agent was just like, you really got to do this. Like, you're really going to crush this. And then he gets on set. And one thing that is probably really different from Fincher's directing style and Tyler Perry's directing style, I think Tyler Perry does half a take. I think they're setting up the next scene during the scene. And like his first scene, 30 takes. And he's like, what's going on? Right. Like, this is crazy.
Is the camera broken?
The blood was draining from my face. No, this is it. He sits down and Affleck goes, by the way, minimum 30 takes. And Tyler's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, no, that's what it's gonna be. He says, I realized Fincher sees like no other person I've ever known. His vision is so hyper. When he's doing a take, he sees everything on screen all at once. He's like an alien. And if nothing, unless everything lines up perfectly, he's like, again, you know.
Well, that's another thing, by the way. When you get to Tanner and Nick working together, you got two directors. Fincher's hiring two people who have made their own films.
It's a good point.
Even if their movies are different styles.
No. You're totally right. I mean, I would love to know more just about like Affleck and Perry like chatting like while they're waiting for Fincher to set, you know, like what those conversations are like.
Yeah.
That. Okay, so the film Medea's Tough Love. No, that's a straight to video. That's a cartoon. Sorry. So it's MADEA HALLOWEEN is Perry's first film after in the Medea verse.
Okay, post Gone Girl.
Gone Girl. Do you think he maybe did like 2 or 3 takes on that one?
Yeah. When I learned something from David.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just funny to think about him being like, I'm going to bring some Fincherian technique into this one.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Final act of the movie, The Interview. Sela Ward. Come on.
Great casting.
Is it Sela? Is it Sela, right? Not Sela?
I think it's Sela.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
The most beautiful woman.
Uh-huh.
But she has that kind of like
scariness.
Yeah, imperious like talk show beauty, right? Like she's perfectly cast.
What was her ABC show called? Not
Once and Again.
Once and Again.
Yeah. She was amazing. That was a great show.
Yes.
Back when TV could just like have a show where it's like you're just gonna cry every fucking week.
Yeah.
not much will happen, and there'll be a big hug.
Weepy.
Yeah.
When ABC used to have their studios right on like the West Side Highway before Trump built 15 bad buildings covering it up, the main thing you used to see in the West Side Highway, which was otherwise pretty barren on that like stretch, was the ABC building, and they always had like the entire side of the building was draped with whatever their new big show was. And I just remember a year of like, we lived downtown. I went to school on the Upper West Side, and my dad would like drive us to school every morning, and I would just see the giant Sela Ward face on the side of the ABC building. And yes, there is something like kind of scary about her.
Yeah, she's impressive.
She has like an intense beauty.
Just, you know, you believe it. She's fearsome. Like she could destroy him.
Yes.
I think the thing of cutting right to them in the car and Nick with like a piece of shit grin on his face.
Yeah.
That we don't see the interview till later, but like even Tanner's like, all right, relax. You were good, but relax, you know, is clever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like lay low until it airs. She's eating the creme brulees.
Yes. Yes. Out of the little ramekins.
Well, and like Desi is so happy when she shows up. And she's clearly in this like rough state, right?
She's in a rough state, but she's also doing the performance.
Of course.
Like, I don't know where to go.
So she looks very different than the last time he saw her. And he's just like, finally, I get her back. But also, I need to build her back into the version of Amy I fell in love with. And he's doing so much good, subtle reaction work in this scene when they're watching the interview.
He's like pouring more wine.
Yeah.
His disgust at like the way she is scarfing down.
Right, the creme brulee.
Yes. Yeah. And then she finishes his.
Yeah.
And you can just see him going like, okay, I got to get her on a diet. You know, like.
Well, and he mentions like the gym when she's walking in. Like he's
so proud of his like perfect home. What is the bed?
Yeah, best sleep of your life.
I forget what the brand is, but it's some like, you know, $30,000 bed probably or whatever. And like his stupid fucking camera app.
But it's just so revealing that it's
so
like
creepy.
He thinks of himself in his mind as like her one true love. And he fucked it up or whatever, right?
And she's throwing him bait with the whole like his, you know, Nick's idea of high culture is, you know, football or whatever. And he's like, ha, you know, like, you know, hand down his pants.
But he is like fully in love with the construction of her.
Totally.
Because when she shows
another
up
fake version of her
in a raw state, he's not like, oh, anything.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to imprison her in his weird fortress.
Yeah, and rebuild her. To the way she was when he met her.
And then the second he leaves, her just like faking the, you know, like going to the camera and screaming. It's so scary.
Well, and the biting of his lip on the goodbyes, so that with the tussled shirt. Yeah, like it's just.
So he has blood when he's walking out. You can see him like
the scuffed up hair. Like just I love her just figuring out like she knows her angles. She knows where like the 10 cameras are. Time jump.
Like the days gone are really interesting from once you start her angle. Like, because it's like when we first meet her, it's like it's closer in time. It's one day gone, and then by the time she is back to looking, because I actually had forgotten that, and I was like, how did she lose all that? I was like, how did she lose all that weight? And it's like it's been a month.
You're a month in now.
Yeah.
Right. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
It's been a month from the interview, basically, too, because I think it says like 29 days. It's not like
she cuts her hair the next day or whatever.
It's like it's been she's gotten skinny again.
There's
like
2 weeks basically of her like in captivity, rebuilding herself and planning.
Then she has sex with him. And during the sex, she slashes his throat with a razor.
Right, we call that sex.
Well, first she also.
What do you mean?
I already said that. The screaming, the violating herself with a champagne bottle. Anything else? I mean,
no, I had forgotten.
For some reason, the screaming is actually what disturbs me the most. Like the way she just like bids him goodbye and then runs and does the fake screaming like that.
She's doing the
that's so good.
The wrist.
The wrist thing. I didn't hear that you said the violating.
It's quite all right. I say a lot of bullshit.
Sangani 63. This
Steven Soderbergh's liquor,
relevant, which I love. I got really into in the pandemic.
A good sipping liquor, you always say.
Yes. But Fincher wanted to put it in the movie as a nod to his buddy Sodi and said, you can pick the scene where you want it applied.
Right.
And Soderbergh said, I want it to be the thing she violates herself with.
I didn't realize that's what it was.
It's not, because Rosamund Pike.
It's a bottle of champagne.
No, it's not a champagne. It's a bottle of
wine or whatever.
Yeah, but Rosamund Pike was.
Sorry, a champagne bottle would be much worse to do that with.
Yes.
It very true. Well, if you took the cork off, I suppose not.
No, but you can't take the cork off. She takes the.
Spraying a wall. It's very true. Yes, of course. Yes, a bottle of champagne would not be workable.
Fincher was going to do that, and Rosamund Pike was like, she would use wine. I'm sorry, I refuse.
Right.
No,
I don't care
what he was going to do the Sagani.
Yes.
Wait, now I got to see this bottle.
It's a kind of wild looking bottle. The scene where it's one of the scenes where Kim Dickens and Fugit come to Affleck's house and he's drinking. It's when he throws the glass.
Yes, that's right.
He's drinking
sort of a tall, thin.
He's
bottle.
drinking Sagani then. So that's where they put it in the movie. But I just like this idea of like, yes, it's kind of a colorful bottle with this clear liquid, and Fincher presenting this to Rosamund Pike on set and her going like, absolutely not.
Good for her.
I have to maintain the integrity of this character.
Yes. But yeah, no, she kills him with, I mean, pretty crazy.
Yeah, once again, this is called missionary position. I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of this.
Just like it's funny too, because it's like, I thought about like the cut to blacks because they're so prominent early on. And suddenly he does this sort of flashing effect.
Yeah.
During the...
And the music's going like, wow, like that. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Sort of
feels
like,
hallucinatory.
It's wild. He cuts it so crazy.
There's so much blood.
It's
so
really
much
great.
Blood. It's really great how much blood there is.
And I'd argue this is almost a point of no return for the character.
For her?
Yeah.
Oh.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
You know, I've really been on her side the entire film. I've liked everything she's done.
Or at least you've understood her perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. And then when she,
Joe Pera did a very funny Seth Meyers interview this week condoning, or rather, condemning murder.
Okay.
He just did a bit of wanting to very clearly establish his anti-murder stance.
Joe Pera's special, which I don't know if you've watched. It's so funny. And he opens it with like a note that he writes and he says, "Hello, my name is Joe Pera. My favorite food is rolls," which is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's so good.
I can't stop thinking
If David had him on the show, would the episode be 9 hours long?
Yes. The slowest episode.
Right.
Yeah. I'd love to have him on the show. God.
I mean, we could have him on.
We could.
What kind of movies does he like?
I feel like there's certain movies he jokes about a lot.
Right.
Like nature documentaries.
Yeah. There's some weird movie reference point in the special I'm trying to remember now.
There definitely is.
He does this bit.
What about like The Straight Story? You know, like something like that, you know, or like a movie about people who talk kind of slow.
Here's a promise.
What if we do Lynch?
If we ever do Lynch,
we'll ask him if he wants to do The Straight Story. Yes. Yeah. We can't guarantee him.
No.
He might be like, "Oh, I've never seen that one." You know?
Well, he's not going to say that fast.
No, yeah, it's true. Sorry, I'm trying to rush us along.
He does a bit in the special where he like chugs bottles of water, like crushing a beer. And it's not something he calls a lot of attention to, but it's just like at one moment he starts doing it and then the audience starts cheering and he's like, "I'm going to take this all the way down."
It's really funny.
He's always been very, very
one of the funniest men alive. Yeah.
Yeah, so Desi's dead. And then there's just 20 minutes left of the movie and it's all suddenly very rapid. Like her returning, swooning in his arms while he says, "You bitch," like you fucking bitch.
Right. He said just the incredible theatrics of her walking up, looking like
swoon,
that. Right. Running to him saying "you bitch," and immediately, quote unquote, fainting into a Gone with the Wind pose.
Yes.
That she just knows is like she's worked this whole thing out. The public relations side of it.
I mean, the scene that's so good in this last, which you sort of mentioned, is when after she's in the hospital, she's been treated.
Yeah.
And the FBI is there. And Kim Dickens is like, "Wait, hold up. Tries to actually interrogate
None of
her.
this is fitting.
And basically everyone tells Kim Dickens to shut up. And she's just like, "God damn it." Like you could just...
Because everyone else in the film is like, in that room, is like, "Are you kidding? Look how gripping this is."
Yeah.
Like, we want to follow this story. And Kim Dickens is like, "Wait, so you went there first? Why did you buy the gun?" And then like, yeah. And
it's a story that would fall apart under a lot of scrutiny.
Right.
And you know, Amy knows there won't need to be much scrutiny.
And
I'm back. There's no crime.
And she's also doing the sort of like, I'm so faint.
I feel myself fading.
Yeah, I can't really remember everything.
And we skipped over, but like they finally do arrest Affleck shortly before this.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
They find the weapon.
The weapon
unquote.
is enough for them to arrest.
He does the thing where like he doesn't listen to Tyler Perry and he responds to the handwriting.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not a handwriting expert. And then it's only after all that she gets home with him. And he's like, what is going on? And she's like, you're doing great. Like, what are you talking about? I fucking love it.
Hottest shit I've ever seen. Take off all your clothes.
And he's like, I have more questions. She's like, are you wearing a wire? Take off your clothes. So it's like this trust is not reestablished.
No, but it's so funny because she walks back in like, that was real. What happened between us? What you said to me through that interview.
Yeah.
You're not feeling what I'm feeling? Like, it does feel like she's
really great. They play it both so
she's
fucking
so
funny.
Turned on by the fact that like, oh, he's figured it out. And he's like throwing the ball back to me, that she assumes that that's like love language from him rather than like him playing defensive.
And him just like being like, right, I'm just trying to survive over here. Yes, I know I was reaching out to you. He knows what he's doing.
He says, do I have to convince America? Maybe I only need to convince one person.
Right, 100%. But right, and she's like, so come wash the blood off with me in the shower, and maybe I'll take a look at that fucking hammer you got, which I sort of forgot about. And he is just like, no, I don't like you. Like, I'm mad at you.
Right.
You've gone girl.
I'm like, I'm terrified of
also, you murdered the fucking next guy you saw, so I'm not exactly.
You're still covered in his blood. You have blood on your boobs.
That actually is kind of unrealistic.
No, I'm sorry. What were we saying?
Surely at the hospital she might have gotten cleaned up, right? It is weird that they're like, anyway, off home with you if you want to take a shower.
But
it's very pivotal to the visuals of their marriage at this point.
Yes.
And she's just like, you don't understand. You did great. I want that Nick permanently from now on. He's like, I'm leaving. And then she, impregnates herself.
I buy that she doesn't wash the blood off when she's at the hospital or the police station or any of that shit, because she's like, well, the press will still be there when we go home.
Right. I don't want to go home. One more round of photos, right, with covered in blood.
They probably offered, and she had some reason why she didn't want to do it yet. You know?
And then just as pivotal as his last time.
Yeah.
Finally, he gets a break. He goes to see Tanner, and Tanner is like, you two are the most fucked up white people I've ever met.
Yes.
It's so incredible.
Yeah.
Where she's like, come on, goes like, can we get her on tape? And he's like, no, he made me get in the shower. Like, he's just laughing.
A line of dialogue.
Kim Dickens is there, and she's like, I agree with you guys, by the way. This has been crazy, A
line of dialogue that hits pretty hard coming from Tyler Perry, a man who's directed some bug nut stories. Like some just fucking lurid as shit pulpy tales with insane plot twists.
His films understand human behavior on a very natural level.
That's what I'm saying. Well, not natural, but he does. He has the clearest eye on the human condition.
I should check in. I haven't seen a Perry film in years.
He's made so few. He mostly went to TV. That sounded like a joke. Recently?
You're right. He doesn't really make movies.
He's made
anymore.
like 2 movies in the last 5 years, as opposed to making 5 movies every year for 15 years. That man has maybe directed 25 films over.
I can count, but you're going to have to talk about the
I'll count.
Final scenes of this movie. Okay, you go ahead. So yeah, she gets pregnant. He actually, is physical with her.
Yes.
When she reveals this, he slams her against the wall.
Yeah, but that is the sort of, but it is also the moment where she's sort of turned on by it. Like it is this moment of violence, and it is him actually enacting sort of what she had imagined. But that is what leads into the I'm the cunt you married. Like, sorry, I just had to say cunt on mic. We hadn't said cunt on mic yet, and it just like felt necessary.
Sure, it's happened before.
No, but like in the context of this.
Yes,
Jordan Hoffman. I think it's 24.
Jordan Hoffman.
Yes, you can listen to our Melvin and Howard episode. Is that the one?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
He tells a story that involves someone yelling the word cunt over and over again, and he screamed it in retelling the story. And it was when we still recorded at Audio Boom.
Yeah.
And David's response was just, Jordan, we are in a workplace. There are people at desks.
Remember we're at a workplace, Ben? Remember that? Your workplace.
Your workplace.
I do remember.
Yeah.
Did you have to explain that to people?
Like, you would be hard at work, and then cunt. 2 idiots would roll into the office.
Screaming your mother's
cunt. Hey. Time to do our podcast.
I don't remember exactly anyone bringing up the fact that Jordan was screaming.
I guess the room was soundproof.
Yes, right.
Right.
But I do remember very often when we would go on, 3 hours of recording,
would do something like that today.
people would be like, what is this show
Yeah.
and why did it take that long?
Yeah.
And I didn't usually have a good answer.
Right, because
Why
your
did
answer would be they talked about a movie.
Right.
Right.
Why
And it's
did
a fair
everyone
question.
eat
And then they would
3
be like,
meals
"What
during the course
movie?"
of this recording?
And I'd be like, Married to the Mob. And they'd be like, what's that?
Good times.
It's so weird that this show is quite popular, and yet also most of my friends are like, well, I don't understand what you're talking about when I've ever tried to listen to it.
No.
I mean, Bob has like, I am always like, oh, you're going to listen to my episode? He's like, that's too long.
Yeah.
Too long.
I like when I have to tell people what I do for a living, my least favorite conversation. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. You talking about a movie? And how long's the show? And I just go, it's long. And they go, so how long? Like an hour? And I'm like, we are so...
Keep going up.
Ben, what time are we at now?
We're at
2:40?
2 hours and 43 minutes.
Wow.
This was another thing that people were so angry that the Zodiac episode was, quote, only
Short.
2.5 hours.
Yes.
What fucking golden handcuffs we have given ourselves.
We're gonna work this down to a 90-minute show. I promise.
never gonna happen.
2024.
No, really, truly, whenever I can finally finalize the soundproofing this space, we're gonna
Clock.
hang that goddamn
Got a
Clock.
clock. We haven't hung the
Countdown.
clock.
Yes,
clock.
we really are. I'm very
and it's
pro.
gonna be, I think, a big change.
And it's gonna go.
Show's gonna get longer. My prediction show's gonna get longer when the clock's up.
Yeah. So at the end of the movie,
Mhm.
he's cradling her head. He's looking at her. It's the same shot from the beginning, and he says, "What have we done to each other?" Essentially, is the
Well, you
final
have
line
the
of
interview.
movie. Yeah, the
where
interview
Mr.
with
Paul comes to their
Shervy.
home,
Yeah,
gives him the robot cat, and he makes the choice to announce the. Because you have the scene in the airport with Tyler Perry, with Kim Dickens, with Margot, where they're all like, you can't fucking go through with this, you lunatic. And he's like, what about the kid? What about the kid? Margot has that scene in the kitchen where she's like crying.
Yeah, well, there's a flashback.
Very
It's sort of like a
affecting scene.
flashback. It's like a little bit of a flashback,
Yeah.
I think, where he's like tells her, and he's like, no, I have to raise this kid.
But you
Because he's sort of like, his almost justification is like, well, I'm less fucked up than her. Like, you know,
Right. It's dooming this kid to a worse life if I'm not
there.
right.
But it's all, yeah, I mean, it's just.
But you are like, is there any, and in a movie with so many twists and moves, you're like, is there some way he games his way out of this? You go to the interview and it's his move. And there's that moment where they're like, we're so happy together. And Rosamund Pike looks at him and like, and what else? And he makes the decision of like, I'm announcing on TV that we're having a baby, which is not just choosing to remain in that kid's life. It is choosing to publicly perpetuate the fantasy, the narrative of their
Right. Everyone's now like in love with them as a couple because it's like he's innocent.
he's fully
She was
re-upping.
missing.
Right.
They're reunited. Now they're having a baby.
He's
you know?
reinvesting in the charade, even if it's a new charade now. Yeah.
And what is marriage if not reinvesting in charades, according to David Fincher, which I do think is very funny. Like truly, like
That's
what
like
have we
his
done
punchline.
to each other?
Right.
And Fincher's like, roll the credits, get the fuck out of my theater. Yeah. Goodbye.
No, here's
What do
the
you think
thing.
of that?
like,
And
here's the
America's
thing.
like, we like it.
Yes.
Here's our
And
money.
everyone's like, rom-com.
Yeah, right.
Here's the thing I think we
Couple
should
goals.
bring up. Yes. This could be us, but you playing. Here's the thing I think we should bring up because weirdly it's been an oversight in our episodes, but every movie from The Game on, of Fincher's is produced by his wife,
Yes.
Sean Chafin,
Mhm.
who is not a very public figure, like does not do a lot of interviews.
She gets a lot of credit as the kind of like, you know, if the Coens kind of had this relation, you know, where it's sort of like, yeah, they kind of just complete each other's sentences. They like do
Nolan and
everything.
Emma Thomas, but
Nolan
Emma
and
Thomas
Emma
is much
Thomas.
more out there.
Yep.
Certainly
Snyder.
and his
Deborah.
wife, early career Carpenter with Deborah Hill. You know, like a lot of people we've covered, where it's a key part of like, because I think someone I read it point out, it's interesting that not only does Fincher not have a single writing credit on any of his films, which makes him unique from any other director we've covered, but he also doesn't have a producer credit on any of his films.
No, he doesn't
which
produce.
most
She does.
directors who get to this level,
Well, it's extra money.
it's extra money and it's
more
control and all of that. And it does feel like, as you said, a little bit of a like, Coen thing where it's like, oh no, they're very collaborative on this. Like there's a symbiotic nature to the way the two of them build the movie.
Exactly. She's the other side of a one-headed or two-headed one person, like.
I just find it very funny with this being his marriage movie where he's like making it like, and here's my take on marriage. And he has what seems to be from the outside an incredibly healthy, long-lasting, 2-decade plus.
Yeah, certainly.
Creative and business relationship with his wife.
Can I say an insane thing?
Please.
Like, it goes without saying that this is an unhealthy relationship.
In Gone Girl.
They're doing
in Gone Girl. But there is this weird meeting in the middle sort of philosophy behind it about marriage where it's like you flip it and they're not two insane people and not two pieces of shit. And it's like, oh, these are two people meeting in the middle.
Yes.
And so there's this weird sort of like
marriage is compromise.
Yeah, marriage is compromise.
Which I think is the bigger point of this movie, not like ultimate, marriage is a sham.
It's not quite as anti-marriage as you would think it is. It's more just like this heightened version of the compromise conversation.
Yes, that's
I think
exactly
why it has a sort of like weird like, oh, a lot of people are like, I see Gone Girl as a rom-com, like, and I think that's sort of,
but that's sort of it's their comfort food movie.
I mean, I think it is a comfort food movie, but like, I think that's why the rom-com thing. That's why it happens because it is two people who are meeting in the middle, which is like sort of what a lot of rom-coms are about.
Yes, yeah, and I do think like that movie couldn't be made. This movie could not be made by someone who does not have a healthy marriage built on reasonable compromise. Like there's a soberness to what you're saying that I think is the movie's take on it, heightened to extreme circumstances that are unrealistic.
Two psychos,
right?
One more psycho than the other, and one just like one psycho, one piece of shit.
They're both pretty wacky.
They're both flawed people.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that. But she has killed more people than him.
One.
Yes, 1 to 0 is still,
and she's a little bit more
significant.
One's a rounding error.
She's a little more maniacal. He's just a bumbling sort of fool, and she's maniacal.
I want to point out something. Eric Messerschmidt, who has now become Fincher cinematographer, this film shot by Cronenweth, I believe, is the gaffer on this movie. He's in charge of lighting, and Messerschmidt. He shoots Mindhunter Mank and the Killer.
Mm-hmm.
He also is now the DP on Michael Mann's Ferrari.
Oh.
And when I interviewed Michael Mann, which I just did.
I
asked him about Messerschmidt.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, why I like that guy? Because he was a gaffer. And to me, cinematography is all lighting and no one understands lighting anymore.
Yeah.
And then he started talking
art,
about like the kinds of lights he used on Heat, and I had an orgasm. Or whatever, he was like talking about lights, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm like going into a dream state. But I like that idea of Fincher, which I think is common for him.
Yeah,
promoting from within, like he usually,
especially with DPs.
Yeah.
Did you interview Mann in person?
I sure did.
Where did he go?
The Mandarin Oriental, of course. I mean, I didn't pick it. That's a classic interview.
Yeah, I know.
Did you wear a black hat?
No.
Did you?
Don't know that I own a black hat.
David? Did you order a mojito?
At like 1 p.m. at the Mandarin.
You just order it and then like don't say anything.
And I go
you're like, will you say it? Will you say it?
I got mint all over my. No, I ordered a green tea, and Michael Mann went.
Oh God, you're so close to mojito in a way.
It's true. It's green. And Michael Mann got chicken and corn and had a long conversation with the waiter over like, what is this? And the waiter was like, it's polenta, but also corn. And Mann was like, okay. And he ate it. It looked pretty good.
Wow.
Mandarin Oriental, for people who don't know, is a very luxury hotel and like it overlooks Central Park. It's this very like gorgeous
More
vista.
like the Michael Mandarin Oriental.
That's a good point, and I should have said that to him. And he probably would have said
that 2 seconds ago, and everyone ignored me.
Okay, credit to Esther.
Well, we're talking about Michael Mann, so women should not be heard. Sorry.
I didn't say Michael Mann. I said Mandarin Oriental.
Oh, you didn't hit it hard enough.
I didn't hit it hard enough, and everyone ignored me.
No, I would never ignore you, Esther. But wait, what? Oh yeah, Messerschmidt, right? I just like right. He's getting his work done on Gone Girl, yeah.
No, it remains bizarre to me for how big of a hit this movie was and how much it was critically well regarded that it gets the one Oscar nomination and nothing else. The screenplay is the one
was
that is
surprising,
galling.
Yeah.
But even aside from the supporting noms that we all argued it should have gotten, that I kind of get being overlooked, it's weird that it doesn't get cinematography or editing or score. Like, I'd expect at least one of those.
Well, there was a lot of really good movies that needed attention that year. Birdman, American Sniper, The Imitation Game, The Theory of Everything. This is cinema!
I give the editing award to Birdman. That movie has no cuts in it. That movie is one honest take.
That didn't get a. It didn't get a.
It didn't?
No.
Oh, thank fucking God.
The editing went to Whiplash.
Okay, that's a good
one. Those noms are American Sniper or whatever. It's probably, it's a well-constructed war movie.
This is the year that
Boyhood,
Budapest should have won.
Budapest, and then The Imitation Game, which is so well edited.
Yeah.
Imitation Game and Theory of Everything being in the same year is offensive. I will tolerate one Miramaxian project per Oscar year, not two.
Right, because one of those is like a sneaky focus or a searchlight or something. They both feel like they should be Weinstein.
Imitation Game is Weinstein, obviously, because Harvey was
I think Theory is focus.
Yes, Harvey was having congressional hearings about how good Alan Turing was or whatever bullshit he would pull. Right,
God. Honor the man.
Yeah, that's Turing. That's Imitation Game. Honor the man, honor the film.
Right, the Oscar will go to his grave.
It's such a weird Oscar year. Foxcatcher doesn't get the Best Picture nom, but does get the Best Director nom.
Right,
there's stuff like that where you're like, that was made for the Oscars and they didn't even totally bite.
Right.
Stuff like American Sniper kind of comes out of nowhere and then they kind of have to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And Gone Girl, like you said, is a big tittied hit, well received.
Thank you.
And like much of Fincher, people are like, slick, fun exercise.
Can we call it a big hog tit?
On this one, we can.
Yeah.
But also, he's coming off like an Oscar heater. Like
he is. But Dragon Tattoo kind of got the same treatment. It got more noms.
It got far more noms.
It got more noms, but it's the same thing of well, at the end of the day, though, you're just a stylist, aren't you? Anyway, we're gonna hand it to something really subtle like Birdman.
It's too fun.
Yes.
And like both
too trashy. Too trashy. Yeah. Again, Birdman.
Both of those are like based on sort of novels that are sort of dismissed as pulpy.
Yes, which is how he got big budgets to make them.
Yeah.
Whereas Birdman was based on what if there was a Birdman?
Yeah.
Birdman. Should I watch Birdman again?
No.
More like
this movie.
More like what?
I liked Birdman.
I remember you liked it. We filed out a Magno possibly together. Maybe not.
No, I didn't know because I saw it at Lincoln Square AMC during a New York Film
I saw
Festival.
it at Magno.
Wow.
The best place to see a movie. The terrible place to see a movie.
This movie's a fat hogged hit.
Yep.
Feels like Finch is on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, great. He's fucking figured out his space within the studio system. Keep making these, Finchy.
He's like, well. And then on the horizon, Mindhunter, yes, he works with Netflix. He does, but on the horizon, there's a whisper. Hank.
But that's also Netflix saying, like,
what do you want to make? Buddy?
Right. What's the thing that no one else will let you make? When he is in talks to do World War Z,
will they not let you Mank?
They let him be Mank in a way that no one had up until that point.
Mank.
When he's in talks
Ben,
to
do you want to say Mank?
Mank.
Thank you.
When he's in talks to do World War Z, pretty shortly after this, and the response from most people is, why the fuck would Fincher do a World War Z sequel? The answer was, he can't get shit made anymore. They won't make his Fincher movies. He needs to find a thing that's already in the pipeline that's closer to what he wants. And the system he had of pick up a good best-selling book with adult themes and use that as your way to Trojan horse in. It's like, you got to find a $200 million franchise movie. You're not getting the green light.
You motherfucker.
You motherfucker.
Or maybe a movie about like a Birdman or something. Let's do the box office game. Birdman. October 3rd, 2014.
Okay. You said it's a bad weekend.
No, it's just a weird weekend.
Oh, okay.
Gone Girl's opening number 1.
2.
$37.5 million.
Healthy.
Making 167 domestic, 367 worldwide.
I mean, that's a big fucking multiplier, too.
Mm-hmm.
Hot Yom Kippur weekend, too.
Yeah.
It's the kind of multiplier you look down at twice in the shower.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Length and girth.
Exactly. Number 2 also opening this week.
Okay.
Made $37.1 million.
Wow.
2 movies opening to the same amount of money, essentially.
So it had to be counter-programming.
Sort of. It's a horror film. It's in the horror space.
Is it a sequel?
No.
No, it's an original horror film.
Well, let's not go crazy. This character had appeared in another horror film, and now she's getting her own runway.
So this is the first Annabelle?
Annabelle is here.
She's sitting her way to the top of the box office charts.
You won't believe the places this doll will be inexplicably found over the course of an hour and a half.
This character's now appeared in 4 movies.
Now, Annabelle's opening to the same amount of money, by the way, makes 84 domestic. To give you a sense of its lack of
Gone
legs.
Girl doubles.
Her legs very stubborn.
She's got tiny little legs. She doesn't move. This is my point. I find it fascinating that Annabelle is such a horror icon, and most people still don't realize the doll never
She's
comes
not a
to
Chucky.
life.
She's not a
She
Chucky.
never Chuckies. The thing is always someone walks into a room and goes like, ah, and she's sitting on a chair.
But what does she do?
They have wrung 3 movies out of that scare, my friend. Like,
but what is
fuck, how'd she get in the bathtub?
Then shit will go wrong.
Other shit happens. Bad shit happens.
She never moves. She never talks. She literally just pops up sitting in different places and then someone dies. But Annabelle has no physical agency.
Well, she's got box office agency, my friend. Ding, ding, ding.
Is she a big ass hit?
Yes. Number 3, obviously she's in The Conjuring.
I'm testing out some alternatives.
I like big ass hit.
It's just so funny that The Conjuring is here's a movie about the people who actually investigated the Amityville horror. And you're like, oh, is it about them going to Amityville? No. It's about them going to a different haunted house. Oh, okay. And Annabelle's part of that?
No.
That's another thing that happens in the movie briefly.
Annabelle's kind of the cold open.
And also, you're like, oh, so is this movie a mess? No, it's tightly wound. It's beautifully constructed. Yeah. Every performance is great. And it's the best horror film of the decade.
Studio horror. Yes. No, Annabelle's the cold open, that doesn't really go anywhere. And it's this incredibly creepy looking doll, right? In real life, it was a fucking Raggedy Ann doll.
It's just a Raggedy Ann. And it's literally in a glass box and it's don't go near that fucking thing.
Raggedy Ann doll. And they're like, that doll's got bad vibes.
Truly. And then I believe we talk about this on an episode long ago, but yes, it's so funny that they're like, should we just use a Raggedy Ann doll? No, let's get a doll that looks like a melted candle. What are you talking about? Anyway, number 3 at the box office. Griffin, you watched it recently. It's a franchise starter.
It's a franchise starter. Is it The Equalizer?
The Equalizer.
Ding, ding, ding.
In its 2nd week.
My man.
Pretty fun movie.
It rules.
Antoine Fuqua's The Equalizer.
Yes, I love those films. I'm all in. I'm equal pilled.
Well, my big thing right now is, as I believe I've said online, The Equalizer 1 made $101 million domestically. Yes. Equalizer 2 made $102 million domestically. Equalizer 3's at 91. I need it to get to 103.
They need to do
badly
a re-release with bonus material. They need something to juice it up.
Denzel will give you a hug and a soda. I don't care. Get people in.
They also all 3 opened within 1 million of each other.
It's opening everything
weekend.
Looked good. I mean, and it's done fine, but I just need it.
I need it. No. You haven't seen it yet, have you?
I have not seen 3. I've seen 1 and 2.
Well, you know what? It looks like you're the fucking problem.
I kind of am.
March your ass out to a theater.
And buy a row.
Yes. Buy out the whole screening.
Number 4. Have you seen The Equalizer, Esther?
I've never seen
The
Equalizer.
They're so good, Esther.
It's quite fun.
He equalizes people.
The first half hour of the movie is him trying to equalize one of his coworkers by helping him lose weight.
Well, this is
my parents love the Equalizer TV show.
Well, that's true.
Starring Queen Latifah.
Oh, the new one.
Yeah.
There's also the old one.
Yeah.
No, but they love
Edward
the
Woodward.
new one.
I'm waiting for them to team up.
Number 4 at the box office. Animated film.
And Robin McCall.
A good animated film.
It's a good animated film. In the year 2014.
It made 50 domestic.
Huh.
A mild hit.
It's not Kubo.
No. But
it is a Leica?
Yes.
Is it Box Trolls?
The Box Trolls.
Good movie.
Charming movie.
Yeah.
Kind of scary.
I mean,
there's the guy who eats the cheese and his face sort of puffs up. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, Ben Kingsley in one of the all-time great voice performances in any animated film.
Is that Cheese Guy?
Yes.
Haven't
He's
seen
the
it
evil
theaters.
cheese guy. It's good.
But I remember liking it. Number 5 at the box office. A franchise starter.
Mm-hmm.
YA.
YA franchise starter. What genre? And you said YA, but YA mashed up with
action.
YA sci-fi. Yeah. It's not Divergent.
No.
It's the first Maze Runner.
The Maze Runner.
They ran that maze.
I'll never get out of the maze.
Oh, in fact, There's a way out.
In fact, the Scorch trials await.
Yes.
And then
the death cure.
Your cure will be given to you. Yes. The Maze Runner, a very healthy hit.
Yeah.
102 at the box office. Not a bad movie. Wes Ball, the
Never seen
director of action.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Scorch is the best, but I think the first two are good and the third's a little disappointing because you were kind of like, hell yeah. You know, this is fun.
Also the Scorch.
No, the Scorch is the best one, obviously, when they scorch the hell out of
He did the new Planet of the Apes.
Which we will see next year, right?
Yeah.
Next, number 6, Left Behind, the Nicolas Cage faith-based movie.
That movie is bad.
What?
Actually. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Oh no,
it is not good. It's better than the fucking Kirk Cameron one, but it is not good.
Number 7, This Is Where I Leave You. I mean, isn't it a lot of Nick Cage in like a cockpit going like, what's going on?
Yes.
Like, people are disappearing. Like, you know, it's a lot of that.
Am I wrong in thinking that Chad Michael Murray is his co-pilot?
That sounds about right.
This Is Where I Leave You. Is that the
That's
one?
That's the one where no one's Jewish.
That's the one that
everyone in the film
I
is
bring
Jewish.
up so often on this podcast. It's a Jewish family sitting Shiva.
I know, it's Jane Fonda, Jason Bateman, Tina Fey,
Corey Stoll, Adam Driver.
Yeah.
Are the kids.
It was directed by Sean Levy, though.
Yes.
So, you know, we're there. Our people are there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Number 8, we all were waiting for it, and finally we got it. The most anticipated sequel of 2014, Dolphin Tale 2.
Oh, wow.
Number 9 of the box office, a pretty enjoyable film from a sort of forgotten franchise, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow, that's a hit. That was August, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Good movie.
Yeah.
David, we were working together when Guardians came out.
Yes.
Because Courtney would only let you go see it.
You were so mad that I was the only person allowed to see it. I remember very well.
What you're in terms of the screening or in terms of letting you leave work?
I got invited and Esther didn't, and Esther was grumpy
and
about it.
Disney said only one person from the Atlantic Wire could come.
Fucking rude.
There was often a lot of
you should have gone, girls.
A lot of I love you, Courtney, if you're listening. Never be mad at me. Number 10 at the box office. No Good Deed. What's that? Oh, that's the Gosling
Idris
is
Elba.
Robert Durst. Oh no, that's Idris Elba.
Idris Elba and Taraji.
Yeah.
Right.
What's Gosling is Robert Durst?
That's called All Good Things.
Okay, all right.
It's the opposite.
Give me a break.
That movie's all about good things.
Yeah, No Good Deed is Idris and Taraji, and he's the he's the ex-husband from hell, or something.
But that was like kind of quietly fucking robust hit.
Yeah, it made 52.
Yeah,
did okay. What is he her husband, or is he just like the guy who broke out of jail from hell?
I think he's the ex from hell.
Yeah, it's the parolee, whatever.
Okay.
I should watch it.
Yeah.
Sam Miller directed it. He's a Luther guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he does TV. Okay.
Luther.
Gone Girl. Esther, any final thoughts?
Great movie.
5 stars. Just, even I was guilty of it. When I saw it, I was like, this rocks.
Yeah.
But I probably took a minute for me to be like, I should stop having any caveats about it as trashy or fun or something. This is one of the great films of the year.
I was all in. I was all in.
I was so excited.
Yeah. Top tier entertainment.
It was such a weird year.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Ben?
Love it.
Yeah? Pro?
Big time.
You haven't said much in this episode. You got any hot takes?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ben.
That's okay. I think this is a great beach house movie. Right? You rent a beach house.
Fucking finest.
They always got kind of like a couple of random.
There was something we needed to get out of.
Anytime you throw the ball in,
there's a couple of random DVDs, and this feels like a quintessential.
So true.
Yeah, you're excited that they have this one in their collection.
Yes. You're like, of course they do, because everyone likes Gone Girl. Let's watch it.
And you're like, and this is the exact mood I'm in right now.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, it's a rainy day. Can't go to the beach. What should I do?
Ben's so smart.
But next week is the even better beach house movie everyone can agree on. Mank.
Yeah.
Get to the beach house. Everyone's like, what? Should we watch it? I'm like, don't worry, guys. And I pull Mank out. I know there's no physical copy of Mank available.
Yeah.
Or I'm scrolling on Netflix and I'm like, hang on. Who's that over there? Is that
me?
Who do I spy with my little eye?
And then somebody in the corner goes, nerds.
Do I smell alcohol and regret?
When you select Mank on Netflix,
it should go Mank.
No, before the movie plays.
It should go nerd.
It should go nerd. No, before the movie plays, you should be pushing the button and no effect, and then you should just hear Gary Oldman go just give me a second. I just gotta finish up this drink here.
Absolutely. So
It should take 45
Did we
minutes
hit
for
3
Mank to
hours,
start playing.
Pen?
yeah, I
We
think
sure
we
did.
just
Yeah,
hit
okay.
3 hours. All these fucking episodes are
did.
3 hours.
Esther, thank you for being here.
I almost felt the need
Blow
to
out the
apologize for the Zodiac episode.
You
before.
did. You fucking
I
apologized.
was like, guys, I'm really sorry. All
Reddit
the, all
like
the
a
other ones
maniac.
are 3 hours.
You did apologize.
I know. What's the matter with me?
You should not have done
you know
that.
what happened?
Okay, I have
What?
to say this office just makes you feel crazy.
Yes, it does.
The lack of windows.
I feel insane.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It's that I
In a
quit
good
Twitter.
way.
It's that I quit Twitter.
Oh, so now you're on the Reddit more?
I think it's making me look at other apps more, and so maybe I gotta quit Reddit. Maybe it's just that, I keep
My
quitting.
friend, this is
until I'm like all in on playing one of those games where you got to rescue the king from the
Disney
burning
Emoji
house.
Blitz.
or
It's
whatever.
right there. It's the key to a balanced brain. I fucking failed to get Long John from the Treasure Planet event. It's
Did I? Oh, Long
annoying.
John
It'll probably be a
Silver.
year before he comes around again in a diamond box. It sucks.
Next week, Mank. Esther, thank you.
Woo.
Esther,
Mank
thank
with-
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for
very
coming
much,
on the
Esther.
show.
You would have been great on Mank, but our guest for that one is Sean Fantasy.
Yes.
Yeah,
America's #1 Mank defender.
absolutely.
I am also a Mank defender.
Yeah, we
I
all
I'm
know
a
the
pro
truth.
man.
Sounds like you maybe should have taken my seat on the episode.
You're not into Mank.
You're mid on Mank,
Yeah.
right? You're not that. You're not a hater, but you're pretty mid on.
I'm
Mank.
pretty mid on Mank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mank.
I was trying to
Mid on Mank. Pro saying Mank.
I love saying it.
Saying Mank is one of the best things
Yeah.
on the planet.
But tune in for that next week. Esther, anything you want to plug?
I'll have a
bunch
book
of
coming
books.
out. I have a book that's available. It's called Beyond the Best Dressed. You can get it at the Academy Museum if you're so inclined,
yeah.
or from anywhere else, but that's pretty cool.
What's your main qualification in being asked to be part of the Congratulations New York Fashion Week runway show?
Right, which was a true honor, and genuinely. And
I appreciate that.
I will have another book coming out next year on rom-coms.
Hell yeah.
But that won't be coming. You're honestly, it got pushed, so you guys are gonna have me back on.
Yeah,
Good.
we have to have it back on.
Okay.
Too bad.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you all for listening.
Well, we should.
What,
Quickly,
Ben?
Very
What?
quickly at the
What?
end here. I'll say the link to get Esther's book will be in the description.
Thank you.
We also, though, should mention that we are going to, in fact, release a Mindhunter episode.
Oh, it's happening?
It is indeed happening. I just got confirmation
This
from
is news
one.
to me.
News to me as well.
Marie, Barty.
Okay, so should we just say this? Dave and I really didn't want to do this episode.
No.
I think you all know it. We don't like covering TV. It's a pain
to
in
be
the
clear,
ass.
I love Mindhunter.
Yes.
I'm a fan of that.
Right. But covering TV within our format is incredibly annoying, and the work just multiplies exponentially. And then it's hard to cover within an episode, and people get even angrier than usual about us not mentioning certain things, which is just impossible with the volume of TV. And with Mindhunter, it's 2 full seasons. Most of the TV we've ever done has been 1 season or a limited series. This is 2 full seasons. It's a lot of episodes, and he didn't direct all of them. And we were just fucking feeling very frustrated figuring out any reasonable way to cover it. I also was deep in watching 8 million lawyer movies for a big picture draft episode, and I did not want to take on also trying to get through 2 seasons of Mindhunter. So Marie is going to do the episode.
Yes. So all I can really share as far as details is that we will be putting out at least one, if not one of some, many more, right? Again, I'm trying to be somewhat vague here,
Yes.
but expect on our Patreon, November 16th, we will have a Mindhunter episode featuring Marie, myself, potentially some guests.
Okay.
This is, again, sort of
News
a
to
thing.
us.
Yeah, this is a
Love
thing
it.
that all sort of just came together.
And it's going to publish off cycle. Literally, it's
Yeah.
just going to publish when it publishes.
No, I mean,
You're getting
like
extra
I said,
value this month.
You'll get it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It'll come
Right.
out on a Thursday, sort of 5 days after our Empty Man episode.
That's the thing. David and I didn't want to do it. We wanted to do Empty Man instead, since that's prior getting to cash a little bit of the Fincher check.
Yeah. I love Empty Man.
And Marie got angry at the notion of us skipping Mindhunter, as I think most of our listeners would have gotten if we didn't do it. So we said, if you want to do it, by all means, we give you the space to make an episode, or perhaps even more. But that's good announcement.
Good.
Good.
Okay.
All right, now do your thing.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you to Marie Barty, host of the upcoming Mindhunter episode, for our social media and helping to produce the show. Thank you to Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork, Lane Montgomery and the Great American Novel for our theme song, AJ McKeon, Alex Barron for our editing, JJ Birch for our research. I'm glad he mentioned that Ben Affleck shows Hog in the movie. I would have missed it if he hadn't put it in the dossier. Tune in next week for Mank with Sean Fennessy. You can go to blankcheckpod.com for links to some real nerdy shit, including our Patreon, Blank Check special features, where you can hear the aforementioned Empty Man and Mindhunter episodes coming up. And as always, Gone Girl's a fat hog tit.
Could I get one more time? Because it sounded like you said fat hog tit.
Great. Okay, I'll give you one more if you keep in. Gone Girl is a fat hogged hit. Great.
Perfect.